Hello, everyone. Hi. Hello. I am Trooper SJP, and this is the Academic Foxhole. And we are today working on our campaign prep for the French Resistance game. I hope you are all doing well, because I am. Got a little thing. I need to go to the chiropractor. A little thing with my back, but that's fine. Other than that, I am. I am Morgan Freeman. This is my. Do you want to know what this is? Shall I tell you? Shall I tell you what this is? This is my GM T-shirt. This is actually for Skodos.net, which I don't even know if they exist anymore. Do they? Let me see. Do they exist? They do. Which it was like an online gaming portal. Yes, it's an online gaming portal that is apparently still up. It still exists apparently, but you know they had these T-shirts which were their like GM T-shirts. So this is my GM T-shirt, and since we are doing GM prep, I thought I should wear my GM T-shirt. That's all. Hi, Spunny. I worry about you. That's all. I worry about you. So, I want to know why, you know, whatever, Stream Manager. The Stream Manager seems a little, what's the word? On pause, right? I mean, it looks like I'm still streaming, but I can't. Okay, good. The Late Late Show had Carpool Karaoke with Billie Eilish last night, so I've been listening to a lot of Billie Eilish. Oh, I like Carpool Karaoke. I should watch that one and see if it's good. Hey, Levi. Also, Falcon of Venom. I've not yet looked at knitting things on the internet, but I will do so. I want you to know it. I am planning on it. And I think I need little tiny needles for the T-shirt, but I'm letting you know it's happening. It's true. It has only been a day, and I still I probably will not be able to look at anything until I finish these letters of recommendation, because I've got a bunch of them, and I need to end my grading. That's grading, letters of recommendation, class prep. Those are the 3 work-related things that I email. 4 work-related things that I have to do before I can look at knitting. And also get this campaign ready. So 5 things, and then I get to look at knitting. So I will not allow myself to be distracted. It pretty much dispenses entirely with the pretense of needs a body to use a carpool lane. They go to Billy's home to see a recording studio brother's bedroom. Oh, that's so interesting. I went to go pet Nice Yarn after work today because you got my brain thinking. Ooh, I will ask you questions, Falcon. I'm just going to let you know that I'm going to ask you questions at some point. I'll have to watch it. I'm very excited. So today we are doing, you know, it's not whatever, internet, eating, and very touching. Oh, I have to watch it. Eating cookies. No, I didn't have any cookies yet. Oh, dang it. Remind me. You don't have to remind me. It's fine. On Monday, I really do need to go to the post office. That is a thing that I need to do. Monday, post office. That's what I'm gonna do. Not the point at which Billy makes James hold her spider, though. Oh, spider. You know, there's some people who hate spiders, and there are people who love spiders. I don't like spiders. They are alive. They do a thing. They're there in their space. I would prefer for spiders to be in their space and for me to be in my space. We don't need to be in the same space together. That's not necessary. It's okay. But, you know, yes. Krellin, see? Yeah, I like spiders as long as I don't see them. They can just, they're an important part of the ecosystem, you know, the great chain of all of that kind of stuff. But we don't need to hang out together. That's all. You know what I mean? We don't need to hang out together. That is the goal. Spiders living in your house is nice, cuts down on the flying insects, but they need to stay out of sight. I totally agree with you. That is 100% agree on my part. So let me see what are we doing? Yeah, we're doing Fate Core today, and I have some news. I've been writing up some things. I spent the last maybe 2-3 hours writing up some of the notes of the things we've been doing so far, and also I don't need to, and then also reading some things to get ready for today, and I have many thoughts. So for those of you who don't know, who are just joining us, but I think we're fine. So those who don't know, I'm planning on running a French resistance campaign using Fate Core, and I plan on running that, hopefully in February sometime, starting then, depending on cast availability, scheduling, etc., prep, blah, blah, blah. All of that business. So I'm hoping February, which means I need to start, because we're getting near the end of December. And so that means I need to start getting on top of asking, I need to start asking people stuff. Hey, Rissa, how are you? Hey, chat, name my tree people. Trooper, if you have to even think of the concept of rules, you're not playing Fate right. Oh, TiVo. No, but you need the rules. You need the golden rule, the silver rule, the bronze rule. You need all of the rules. And so I've got all that to do, but so what we did the first day is we made these characters, and then the second day we started making the faction. We didn't finish the faction, but we started making it. And we're not going to finish with the faction today because I started doing some work on that, and I want to do a little bit more work before we go back to it. Right now, I just want to put characters through challenges. And because TiVo, it's because you sound like the people on the forums. So I want to put these characters through some challenges. I want to think about these things, but first I'm going to tell you the things that I've been reading and thinking about. So I was reading Fate of Cthulhu a little bit, which I think is really interesting. They've got some things that I like. They've got a really nice summary of the rules that only take like 25 pages, core rules, not accelerated, which are great. Some really nice ways of thinking about some of the details that I think are very useful. So that's really nice. They have, what else do they have that I think is interesting in here? I was looking at what they do with the skills. They don't change it too much, but nonetheless interesting. Their aspects are high concept, trouble, relationship, and then 2 free aspects, which is interesting. And I'm thinking about that rather than doing the phase trio. Interesting. But I've also been, they have one rule that I really like that I want to, I'm taking notes, by the way. Isn't the fate of Cthulhu to bring Rillia back and destroy the world? Maybe. Krella notes that TiVo's channeling the Fate forms well, and TiVo admits shamefully, maybe not shamefully, that he used to browse Fate forms a bit whenever he was big into it. Oh, Rissa wants to know how it compares to Call of Cthulhu. Well, it's interesting because I've got 2 different Cthulhu-based Fate things that I've been looking at right now, and I realized that the game that I'm playing, that I'm running, does not have Cthulhu in it, but nonetheless, I kind of want some of those, feelings. Let's see. How do they incorporate the whole madness thing? Yes, no, there is in Fate of Cthulhu, there is a sanity track. No, there's no sanity. Fate of Cthulhu has no sanity. Instead, it has corruption. So now, Achtung Cthulhu does have sanity, which is the other thing that I was looking at today. Here, this is Achtung Cthulhu. For Fate. There is Achtung Cthulhu itself is actually not normally Fate based. I think it's its own system, but I think you can also use regular Call of Cthulhu with it. And this is World War II people fighting a secret war against Cthulhu. And discover the Discover the secret history of World War II, stories of amazing heroism in which stalwart men and women struggle to overthrow a nightmare alliance of steel and the occult, of frightening inhuman conspiracies from the depths of time, of the unbelievable war machines which are a product of Nazi engineering genius, and how close we all are to a slithering end. The secret war has begun. So I'm looking at these two different fate-based Cthulhu things right now that I've been thinking about for this game, and think about how do they deal with some of these rules and what are they doing. And of course, this one is more time traveling, like some more Terminator, and this one is a bit more war based, sort of military based. So both of them are very interesting. TiVo, you should totally play Call of Cthulhu. It is excellent. Hello, Anarch Dovey. Yes, Cthulhu's Nazi, same thing. Or is fate of Cthulhu to leave his job behind and find happiness as a farmer? I think Cthulhu's fate is to leave his job, find happiness as a farmer, sell jam on a roadside stand. I feel like that's his fate. The fate of Cthulhu is to go to their hometown during December on business, but eventually fall in love with a well-meaning dope just in time for Christmas Eve. That also probably, or maybe the fate of Cthulhu is to have this kind of fun meet cute with the King in Yellow, and then they live happily ever after having destroyed the world. So let's see. Anarchy says, my Alien RPG bundle came in post today. I also played it last week. A lot of death and only one player survived. Oh, that's interesting. Hey, Sea Spider. It sounds like Anarchy that the Alien RPG models the film very well. So maybe. So something that this one has, which I think is really interesting, is they have one other thing that you can do, right? So if you're in a conflict and things are not going well, you can be taken out, you die, you can concede, or you can have a heroic last stand. And a heroic last stand is when your character you can sacrifice your character's life to improve the future. So it's a special kind of concession. It says, instead of conceding to survive and lose the conflict, a character can make a heroic last stand to win the conflict at the cost of their own life. Maybe a character uses it while being overrun by deep ones, or they stay behind while being chased by a mask of Nyarlathotep to give the others time to escape. However it plays out, that's the end of the character. The player then has the option, with the GM's agreement, of explaining how their character's sacrifice will affect events. Whatever it is, it should be worthy of the sacrifice. So I like this. I realize this is probably meant for a little bit of Cthulhu, but I like the idea of the big heroic sacrifice. And I think I will include the heroic last stand option. Ooh. Sorry, I just noticed that the eyes, I don't know if you can see this, the red eyes of Cthulhu glow a little bit. Like they're reflective, they're a little shiny. Like, I don't know, can you see it? Right there's like do you see it? Do you see it? Like, it's shiny, so it looks like it's glowing, which is very exciting to me. Sorry. I was just distracted by Cthulhu's eyeballs. Forgive me. Hey, that thing you like. Fate of Cthulhu just came out, TiVo. It is brand new. I kickstarted it. That's why I have it. I think it is now available, but it is super new. And it is made by a number of interesting people who are part of the design team. And it is basically, it's a bit more high powered. It's basically people go back in time. Cthulhu has risen, or any number of people have risen. They have risen, destroying the world. You go back in time to try to stop it. And the book itself has a really cool, so there's a lot of time travel. There's time travel involved. It has a really cool sort of thing about making your characters. It also is complete, so this is all you need. You don't need the Fate book itself. This has everything in it. But they use corruption to sort of deal. So part of this is, can you stop the coming apocalypse? You've gone back in time. Can you stop the coming apocalypse without completely corrupting yourself and losing yourself? Or can you do it before you corrupt yourself completely? And then they've got, which is interesting, One, two, three, four, five different timelines that you can choose as your apocalypse. The arrival of Great Cthulhu, the arrival of Dagon, the arrival of Shub-Niggurath, the arrival of Nyarlathotep, the arrival of the King in Yellow. These 5 different ones, and they sort of talk about what the timeline is, what the agendas are, so you can pick a different apocalypse for each one and sort of go through that. So that's very exciting. And I like... I think Heroic Last Stand would be great. I think so too, TiVo. I like that a lot. I think because I feel like this is like a war sort of a war game in various ways, resistance, and people will often sacrifice themselves, and so I want that to be an option because I really like what good RPers might do with that. So I'm excited by that. So. We were all distracted by the Cthulhu balls. Evil Hat says it should be available on January 13th. Oh, I'm excited about it. I will tell you, I'm excited about this so far. I mean, I would probably actually run a Fate of Cthulhu game because it looks pretty cool, but that's not what I'm doing right now. This is, I'm a guess since this is Cthulhu, you really can't. Maybe you can, because I think this is meant to be a little bit more heroic than your regular Cthulhu game. Listening, but I'll be perfect. Periodically AFK, prepping for tomorrow's Cthulhumas party. Rissa, if I were in California, I would go to your Cthulhumas party and I would enjoy myself very much. I don't know how I feel about Fate of Cthulhu. From what I hear, it's not really eldritch horror. And Arctavie, my sense that it's sort of a bit pulpier. It's not, I mean, you've got Eldritch Horror and you've got Corruption. It's kind of going for a different feel is my sense of it. It is not your classic Call of Cthulhu people who are, Rissa has a thing. Yeah, I feel like it's a bit more Arkham Horror. Yes, I feel like that's probably true, Krellin. Also, there are a couple of different ways of playing Call of Cthulhu, and Rissa has a description which I think is hilarious for one of the popular ways that people play it, especially in conventions. It was Victims and Veggies is what it was called, where you run a game where the GM just basically kills everybody or makes everybody go mad, and like that your game does not last long because everybody's dead or mad, and that one being one way of playing it. But there are other ways of playing your classic Call of Cthulhu. I mean, I've played in a number of games where none of us have died yet, or some people like slow death, but people struggle and deal with things, and it feels very like struggle. So, you know, I feel like there are different ways. But this one, I feel like they are, looking at the rules, they are still done with your average Cthulhu, with your average Fate character, which makes them a little bit more resilient and pulpy. But I believe recovery is... There are also different ways of dealing with recovery, which I think is interesting. So, where was it? It's recovery. Let me think. So that's 48. Let me tell you, so in regular Fate, you've got your stress tracks, and your stress tracks clear after every conflict. I plan on using a... there's an option in one of the Fate system toolkits wherein that is not what happens. You only clear one stress box after a conflict, and then you can only clear, like, it will take specific actions in order to clear the rest of them, or other ones. So if you're sort of injured, you need to get first aid. If you are sort of stressed out, you need to take proactive action in game to clear those stress boxes. They don't just all clear automatically. But in this one, yeah, so with this one, with Fate of Cthulhu, recovery happens normal, just like Fate, which makes the people pretty resilient, and it gives a slightly more pulpy feel. So, Achtung Cthulhu, which I got a while ago. I've quite a lot of their books, mainly because a bunch of them were on sale really cheaply, and I thought this would be very useful. They're over, you can't see them. They're over there, because they start with A, so they're at the very end of the bookshelf. But so this one, Achtung Cthulhu, was. Hold on, let me get the regular book. Give me a second. You can still hear me, but let me get it so I can tell you what it was. I think I even have. You can still hear me, right? Yes. I've got a bunch of stuff for this, and here, including some long campaigns which seem interesting. I probably should have used a different one. So this one, right. So this book, is this true? Is this true? Am I lying to you? Hey, Grinny. Oh, there was a host. There was a host where I had my headphones off. Grinny. Grinny, you hosted me and I didn't hear it, but I'm going to sing for you anyway. Come on in my house, come on. Come on in my house, come on. Come on in my house, I'm gonna give you candy. Come on in my house, I'm gonna give you everything. There's gonna be so Achtung, this is the player's guide, which I probably should have just picked up the GM's guide, for heaven's sakes. Hold on. So this one, I'm gonna pick up the GM's guide because that'll tell me what I need to know. Achtung Cthulhu itself, if you can hear me still, which I hope you can. There we go. So this is the main rule book for Achtung Cthulhu originally. No, I sang. Also, hello, Control Freak. Wrong ear bits. So the main book itself uses, I think, does it use its own system? It gives you can use this book, which has a really nice little book ribbon. You can use this in Savage Worlds. Also, Call of Cthulhu 6th edition. And I don't know if they have their own rule set, though. Maybe. Let me see. 159. I think it might just be those two. Maybe. Or maybe. Yeah, I think it just gives you the choice of doing Call of Cthulhu 6th edition or Savage World. So you have the choice of yep, I was right. So the main book itself, right, the original book, gives you the ability to play this in Call of Cthulhu 6th or Savage World. Savage World being very, very pulpy, Call of Cthulhu not. So it sort of tries to deal with how to dial that up or down a little bit in the core rule book. But they also came out with what candy? Sweet Tarts. They also came out with a book that transfers this over to Fate Core. Now they do some slightly different things for Fate, some of which I think are really interesting, which I'm probably going to want to incorporate into what I'm doing with this French Resistance, because there's a lot of stuff in here that I think will be really, really useful. So, hey, Big Boodle. One of the things they do is they do their phase trio differently. So they do so if generic Fate gives you high concept trouble and then 3 aspects related to like integrating with 2 other players, and Fate of Cthulhu gives you high concept trouble and then relationship and then 2 free to do whatever you want. This one does high concept trouble, and then it does describe an event you getting noticed by your organization and what aspect is related to that. 2, an event, life before the war, and an aspect related to that. And then 3, crossing paths, your connection to someone else. So their their aspects are completely prescribed, and I need to figure out what I want to do. So I like the idea of the high aspect and the trouble. I like the idea of the connection to someone else. So that's 3 out of 5. I had notes on this. I think that one should be the event why you decided to join the resistance, right? So event why you decided to join the resistance, connection, high concept, trouble, and then one free open one is what I'm currently thinking. It's my current thoughts. Now, so I'm going to do the slow stress, which means that you only recover that stress in that less. There's also a group concept, which I think is going to sort of tie into my faction thing, but they don't have a faction system. But we'll get there. Don't worry about it. So then there was a thing that I wanted to tell you that was they also have a different skill list, which I think is really interesting. They have medic as a skill, which I'm going to incorporate. They've renamed burglary to tradecraft, and I think I'll follow suit, but name it spycraft. They have academics and sciences being different. They don't have notice, they have survival, but I think I might have both. And they, I think where are my notes on this? They also, this is really interesting, and I like this, and I think I will incorporate it. Now they do a thing, they give people more skill points because they're still a little bit higher powered, and I don't think that's what I want, but we'll see. What they do, however, is that some drive has, is it drive? Drive is a number of different skills. So it's either drive or helm or sail. You pick one. Drive is default, right? Default is for cars, but you can also have ride, pilot, sail, and you pick which one you want. They also have, and so those are basically variations. They also have variations for shoot, archery, cannon, heavy weapons, right? So they have 2 skills that have variations, which I think is good. I like that. They also have something called specializations, which I think I will also utilize. I like it. So for intellectual skills, if you take that skill, you have 2 free specializations. So if you take academics, you would then specialize in, say, mathematics or Egyptology. If you, right, so you can specialize, and if you are specialized in something, then you get that bonus when dealing with that one thing. But if you are not specialized in that thing, you get a bit of a penalty. So that you can't be a jack of all, master of none, right? So it dials in a little bit more realism. So I like it. That I will definitely do. Academics, music history. It's true. They also have demolitions, so that's confirmed. Good choice. I think forgery will then be rolled into spycraft. They rename, I think they rename craft mechanics, and I'm gonna think about that. Right. I want to think about. I'm going to think about it. So what they have, and I thought this was interesting, and I'm going to look at their stunts and see what they have. No. Academics. So like demolitions, it's its own thing, right? It's not a specialization. It's its own skill, which I appreciate. So then they've got some deal. Hold on, where was it? They've got weapons ratings, which I'm also going to do. I'm going to do weapons ratings, although I'm not using their weapon ratings. They only go up to 2, where I'll be going up to 4, which was recommended. Although I'm going to read their stuff on heavy ordnance and see if I. Yes, demolition is a symphonic metal. Yes. I will see if that will change. But I've sort of worked on. Since we talked, I've worked on weapons ratings and armor ratings, which we will talk about when we get there. Then, where was it? There was a thing about I want to get there because you have to know. Wait. Character concepts. No. Mythos background. No. hold on. It's about recovery because they have a recovery thing which I really liked, and I thought that I would here we goes. I thought I would incorporate this because I thought it was good. So they say the stress boxes, blah blah blah. You got your stress boxes. Physical and mental stress takes slightly longer to recover from in Achtung Cthulhu and requires a lull action. A few minutes of catching your breath, applying minor first aid, checking for injuries, and so on. This means it isn't automatically gone after a conflict, as it is in Fate Core. Getting into a fight in a fortress and immediately continuing to skulk around does not count as a lull. Likewise, having a shootout that draws attention likely means you won't have time to wait around to let your stress recover. The lull doesn't need to be played out like a scene, it just needs to have happened in the story. So for them, you get everything back once you have a lull, but I think I'm going to go with the Fate System cool toolkit, where you actually get one automatically back after a conflict, but then you actually need to do things to recover from there. But, so this is really interesting. In Fate, normally, so you have consequences, right? So by the way, we're going to be doing challenges today, so everything I'm talking about is going to be put into practice a little bit. So a character has stress and also consequences, and I will talk about those in a second. But consequences are mild, moderate, severe, and in the regular Fate game, mild consequences take one full scene after treatment to occur. So you treat them, and then after a scene, they're done. And then moderate consequences take a full session to occur, to clear, and then a severe consequence will clear when you reach a major milestone after treatment. OC Spider, there's going to be a test. And so the thing is that this is based on story time, right? So a scene, a session, a milestone is story time. That could take one day in character or 4 months in character to take place. And I am not going to use that. I'm going to use instead what Achtung Cthulhu does, which is it's based on story time. It's based on game time, not story time. So a mild consequence could take a couple of hours to clear, but moderate consequences will take around 2 days of game time, and then severe consequences will take around 2 weeks, unless it's something bigger, right? Like if it's something very serious. Like I might actually have, I will say, or longer, 2 weeks or longer. Like if you break your leg, that's going to take longer than 2 weeks. So that is that's what we got, right? And also Achtung Cthulhu talks about something that I also want to talk about because I think this is important, and that is if it is a lethal attack. So in regular Fate, which is hanging out over here, whoosh, characters are very resilient. It is hard for them to die because the rules themselves discourage you from killing characters at all. They think it's not a good idea to do it, and they think that basically they don't think it's a good idea to do it. They think that you should not be, don't kill characters. They say if they get taken out, they encourage you to have them just be captured or fall unconscious, something like that, but not actually die. And I will not be doing that. I mean, if they're being, I mean, it's possible they might get captured, because that certainly will happen. If that is possible. It is possible that the characters will be captured rather than killed, but it's also possible that the characters will die. That's all. As an often character player, I approve of this encouragement, right? So the thing is, I'm just saying that some people are not taking hostages. Depending on the situation, the Nazis will probably want to take hostages because it's better for them to capture people and then torture them for information than it is to just kill them. But, you know, sometimes that's just not going to happen. So there are ways to sort of like you can be killed, is what I will tell you. If it makes sense, that is a thing that will happen. And it's interesting because Fate, it should. Oh, so Anarch W, right? Because in Basic Fate, no one dies, right? So Anarch W in Basic Fate, player characters won't die, because that's not what Fate is about. Wait, tortured and maimed instead of killed. Not sure if I like that part though. So right, in Basic Fate, characters don't die. I think there is a provision that characters are allowed to die only if the player says they want their character to die. Other than that, characters don't die. So you can always, so 168, where is it? So if you play your standard average Fate using the regular rules, your characters will never die. So character death. So if you think about it, there's not a whole lot keeping someone from saying after taking you out that your character dies. If you're talking about physical conflict where people are using nasty sharp weapons, it certainly seems reasonable that one possible outcome of defeat is your character getting killed. In practice, though, this assumption might be pretty controversial depending on what type of group you're in. Some people think that character death should always be on the table if the rules allow it. If that's how the dice fall, then so be it. Others are more circumspect and consider it very damaging to their fun if they lose a character upon whom they've invested hours and hours of gameplay, just because someone spent a lot of fate points or their die rolls were particularly unlucky. We recommend the latter approach, mainly for the following reason. Most of the time, sudden character death is a pretty boring outcome when compared to putting the character through hell. On top of that, all the story threads the character was connected to just kind of stall with no resolution, and you have to expend a bunch of effort and time figuring out how to get a new character into play mid-stride. That doesn't mean there's no room for character death in the game. However, we just recommend that you save the possibility for conflicts that are extremely pivotal, dramatic, and meaningful for the character. In other words, conflicts in which the character would knowingly and willingly risk dying in order to win. Players and GMs, if you've got the feeling that you're in that kind of conflict, talk it out when you're setting the scene and see how people feel. At the very least, even if you're in a hardcore group that invites the potential of character death, or on any taken out result, make sure that you telegraph the opponent's lethal intent. GMs, this is especially important for you, so the players know which NPCs really mean business and can concede to keep their characters alive if need be. So the point is, as Anarch W points out, it should depend on the type of game. Your good standard Fate, it is really hard to die. It's very hard to die in your standard Fate because A, they do not encourage you to kill PCs at all. They think it really shouldn't happen. And they've built in rules so that at any time the player can concede and not die. As long as the dice haven't been rolled yet. So and we'll talk about that in when we actually get into the challenges today. So right, if you're wanting, and I imagine Savage Worlds being particularly cinematic also doesn't have character death in it very much, but there are a lot of games wherein characters will not be dying, and you can certainly run Fate Core that way. So if you're looking for a system where characters do not ever die, this is one for you. That is an easy thing to do. And even if you do run it with character death on the table, it's kind of difficult. It's kind of difficult for characters to be killed, especially if you don't use weapons ratings, which I will be. So if you don't use weapons ratings, hitting somebody with a machine gun is the same as hitting them with your fist, right? So there's no extra damage for, basically, if you use Basic Fate with none of the extras, hitting someone with a machine gun or a bomb is the same as hitting them with your fist, and it's very hard to kill people if you do not, like, that's a easy thing to do. Right? Like it's easy not for people to die. So if you want a game where people will not be dying, it is easy to do that in Fate Core. I, however, do not want a game where, and actually this is really interesting because there are debates online about this all the time. People say that it's impossible to run Fate in a gritty way, that if you want to run gritty, don't run Fate, because Fate is for high-powered, pulpy cinematics. But people have disputed that and said actually there are ways to run Fate in a gritty way. There's the Fate Horror Toolkit, which I also got because I felt like horror things will be helpful. There are a bunch of advices out there. There's a bunch of advice out there to help enable you to sort of create a grimmer, grittier, less hyper cinematic campaign for your fate, and which will be what I'm doing. Most systems are playable most ways. You just want it enough and have a willing group. But some systems are not that great at it, right? Some systems are not great. It's going to be hard. Like, in order for me to run Fate in a gritty way, I've got to do a lot of switches. Like, it does not natively lend itself to gritty play. And right, so you have to do things in order to help make that possible, and I think it will never be hyper gritty. I can make it grittier. I can make it grittier enough, I think, but it's not really designed, and I think when we start going through challenges, we'll be able to see why. Javai says, very much sounds like Fate is going for a highly cinematic narrative game style. Yes. Player death being rare and possible sounds like it fits for what it's going for. Exactly. And Krellin notes, it's really hard to make 40K systems super cinematic. Right. So this is, I think, part of the point, right? That some systems you can do anything you want, but some systems are not playable well outside of what it's trying to do. So Fate is going for a thing, but it does offer switches to allow you to do other things. And I will be using a lot of those switches, because what I want is a game that feels that is deadly, that feels dangerous, that feels gritty, that feels a little bit overwhelming, that feels I still want the core. This is interesting. The core of Fate, let me tell you, is hold on, I will tell you. The core of Fate is, where are they? Characters who are proactive, competent, and dramatic. That's the core of what makes a good Fate game. A good Fate game is when you have characters who are proactive, competent, and dramatic. And if you are not those things, then it's not a good Fate game, apparently. And RTV, what is your point about competent characters? Because D&D first level characters are not that competent. Like, most games have strengths and weaknesses. Like, I wouldn't go for D&D if I want a game about rural life in 18th century France or whatever. True, you might do chivalry and sorcery. I'm a bad Fate character. I'm none of those things. Then Krellin, you might be a better GURPS character than you might be a Fate character. So, so they tell you in the book what is and what isn't Fate, and because of the way the book is written, fans of Fate tend to be this way as well. So they say things like, a game about librarians, proactivity. A game about librarians spending all their time among dusty tomes and learning things isn't Fate. A game about librarians using forgotten knowledge to save the world is, right? So the way that basic Fate is set up is that you would not be librarians searching, you'd be librarians kicking down doors, right? I just picked a completely random setting and time period that D&D wouldn't do on my eyes. That is fair, but I'm telling you, there are game systems that would do it well. I'm just noting. And one of them would be GURPS. Yeah, your librarian isn't Fate, the librarian is, yes. And so they've got these ideas, but I think there are ways to make this do what I want. And I'm doing that by adding weapons ratings, slowing down recovery for stress and consequences, for I think I'm going to say 2 months rather than 2 weeks for severe consequences, by the way, by reducing the number of fate points they have, by reducing their skills. Like, I'm going to do these things to make them less. Hello, Ormagond 6666. Welcome in. I played an Imperial Guard campaign, but my DM had giant set pieces with clashing groups where NPC squadron mates would get knocked down with medics, etc. Made it pretty cinematic. If you try, then again, throwing 3 Imperial Guards at a Terradid hive doesn't leave room for cinematics. I mean, GURPS does a lot of things well, kind of the point of it. In the name even, it's true. There are some things I think it does. There are some things that I would choose a different system for if I wanted to. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are some things that if I wanted to do some sorts of games I would pick not GURPS, but it does do a lot of things well. So we're gonna deal with some of that. And what we're gonna do is run through some of these conflicts to just sort of try out how these things work in play. And I have to sort of change my overlay a little bit. It's fine. So I'm hoping to get a game where death is on the table, where torture's on the table, where heroic sacrifices are on the table, where the players are not superhuman, where they are competent, proactive, and dramatic for a certain, like, gritty dramaticism. That's what I'm looking for. Gritty dramaticism. And I think that there's, and of course I have to find players who want to do that. Jack of all trades, master of none kind of deal. Oh, Javai, I think GURPS actually masters a couple things really, really well, depending on what style you want. Anarch Dovey says, I feel many games that use single die systems often feel incomplete due to how humans perceive probability. And those types of systems often do not do well with power levels between higher skilled and lower skilled characters. A lot of time in them, low strength characters really have really decent chance beating higher strength characters in competition of strength. Yeah. I mean, Anarch Dovey, I have so many feelings about dice mechanics. I have so many feelings. Yeah, and I have a lot of feelings about dice mechanics, and I don't like single dice systems very much. Unless there's a lot going on to mitigate that, but I find single die systems like a roll 1d20 so swingy, right? And especially if your bonuses are sort of low, like if the difference between a non-skilled person is a +0 and a very skilled person is a +8, that non-skilled person who's got no skills there are a lot of instances where that person's going to beat the highly skilled person, and I don't like that. A single die, yes, Sea Spider, a single die just doesn't have enough probability steps exactly. Ormagun says, I only tend to DM systems where I can craft a story that plays with the shades of gray, like a Necrogon Lich attacking surrounding kingdoms to give them a mutual enemy and put an end to centuries of warfare by invading once every 100 years, leading to peace. Oh yeah, I mean, I want games that will feed that. I want that to be able to be a thing. And if that is not a thing, I'm going to be less excited. Do you know what I mean? Like I want, and I love it if the game's mechanics themselves lend to that. So 40K is a single die system. I mean, it presents itself as a 2-die system, but it's a D100 system that utilizes mechanics using the 2D10s method of doing D100. But since it's a system where everything is horrible, fate is nothing, and everyone is one unlucky shot away from death, it sort of works. That's fair. I think Sea Spider Mix says design-wise 2d6 is better than 1d12. I agree. I prefer 3d6 or 4d6 to 2d6 because 2d6 is a pyramid, not a bell curve. But I get you. It's interesting, Krellin, because I think that if the game is supposed to feel random and horrible that way, then I think it works. But one thing that I would like to do, which I have not had time to do, I played Call of Cthulhu 7th edition at Gen Con, but I've not read through the books myself completely or run it myself. But I know that 7th edition tries to mitigate some of the swinginess of D100 by having different mechanics. So things like you can get advantage or disadvantage on your rolls, giving you more opportunities. And I know that Unknown Armies, 1st and 2nd edition, I don't know what they're doing with 3rd edition. I'll have to check. I have all 3 editions, but is that it's also a D100 where you roll those 2 D10s, but you have the ability to manipulate those dice depending on whether or not it's based on something that's really important. So you can flip-flop the die rolls. So there's certain things you can do. So if you're going to do if you're going to do a single die roll, something like that, or even the 2d10 for d100, being able to flip-flop your die rolls or some kind of ways to manipulate probability is something that I appreciate, and I want that to happen more in games like that. Ormagon says, also rolling more dice makes a clanging sound that is so satisfying, and adding numbers up as the total goes up and up, half chub worthy. That is a big plus, although I do enjoy my GURPS, which is roll under, right? So you want low. You can only flip-flop your dice in 4K if you're high on Decilium fungus. How much? Oh, fungus. Hey, is there a fungus among us, is my question. I find that 3 to 6 dice is best. 3 is plenty with a bell curve. Less than 3 just feels too random. More gets hard to tell at a glance a lot of the time. Yeah, so I think we're on the same page. And one of the things I like about Fate is that it's 4d6. It uses fudge dice, but it's 46, so I appreciate that. Blades uses d6s. It's a dice pool with like variable. Hello, Atomica. How are you doing in your break? We're talking about dice systems, and like, you can have 4, you can have 46, you can have 3d10, you can have multiple. Like, I'm fine with multiple dice. I just, I think what it comes down to is, and this is, here's the thing. People who know me know that I'm a non-fudge GM. I don't fudge dice, and one of the ways Ormagon says, I DE5E because it's easy, but I always make homebrew magic items that add dice to damage saving throws. Oh, that's cool. Shadowrun's Fistful of Dice work best if you have custom dice with the 1, 3, 4 blacked out, and so the 5, 6 are really easy to count at a glance. Yes. Oh, you're painting Horde of Kobolds. Oh, nice. So I'm a non-fudge GM. And one of the reasons that I can be a non-fudge GM is because I tend to run systems that have good probability curves. And like, I don't tend to run super swingy. Like, I understand if you're running a game that's super swingy, then maybe you feel like you need to fudge. For me, if I'm running a system where it is so swingy that I feel like I need to fudge, then I'm just going to get a different system is what's going to happen. I'm just going to run a different system where I don't feel that way. So I tend to run systems wherein I don't feel like I have to fudge, so then I don't. I can be fine with more depending on the system, but less so if you add them all together or something. Matching or seeing an amount above a target works, or adding a smaller number together out of a larger pool. Yeah, I agree with that one, Javai. I will see you after the stream, Atomica. What kind of game could be benefited from being super swingy, though? Well, a lot of people love D&D. Sea Spider? They love D&D. They love the random feeling of success at rolling that 20. I mean, I still get a feeling of success rolling 3 1s on a 3d6 rolling low, or 3 6s when I'm rolling high. That still makes me very excited. I don't know. I mean, I suppose some people... I don't know. I don't even know. I imagine... Like Krellin says, that in a universe that is particularly punishing and capricious, then a swingy system would sort of be thematic. And I think for me, I want your dice mechanics to work with the game you're running, if that makes any sense. Like I want that feeling. I want the dice mechanics to feel like how the game is going. Ormagon says, I tried painting figurines once, and the abomination I brought forth in this world is on par with Cthulhu's insanity. I need to get... Yeah. Alien RPG is dice pool system like Vampire, using year 0 system, and I think it's great. I also got custom dice and have sort of cross on the 6s, and one is a face hugger. The stress is that's amazing. How many love D&D because they love D&D? And how many love it because it's the only TTP RPG they know, though? That is a very good question, Javai. I think there are a lot of reasons why people love D&D. Some of them are because they really love D&D. Some of them are for other reasons, which are valid, but nonetheless, Yeah, the CR folk, says Carlin, love the swinginess of the D20 and are familiar with, yes, and I think that's actually true. Like, there are people who really love swinginess. They love it. It's exciting to them. They love not actually knowing if their character is going to succeed or not at all. Like, who knows? They love the swinginess until they keep rolling ones over and over and over again, then they like it a little bit less. Ormagon says, I DM D&D because it's easy to get into for new people. Most people know it and that fantasy. Yeah, right? I mean, there are a lot of reasons why D&D is popular. I mean, so many. And can I say something? I've been thinking about something. I want to tell you all something. So, look, I'm on Twitter, as you know. You can find me on Academic Foxhole. I've got a lot of TTRPG people in my Twitter feed. And there's a kind of a D&D sucks. Why won't anybody play these small indie games? It's so terrible. Why do those masses play D&D and not my small independent indie game? And they must be like sheeple or brainwashed, and if only they played my independent indie game, they would love it and they would stop playing D&D and the world would be better because the world would be a better place if people stop playing D&D, whatever. And I don't like it. I don't like any of that. I don't like any of that at all. Speaking of CR stats reported this week that Caleb rolled his 1,000th roll last week and got his 50th natural 20 last week, and no one remarked on how this was evidence of that Leon's dice were fair. Yeah, fix the wrong. Yes, like, I'm sure there are people that love D&D for what it is, has benefits for sure. Just feel a not insignificant part of people that love D&D, love role playing, and think role playing is the same thing as D&D. I bet those independent indie games nerds probably use iPhones. Maybe. And here's the thing I was thinking about this idea. Look, I will tell you the truth. I have spent a lot of my life disliking D&D, and for many reasons. Many of it were the people who were playing D&D back in the day were often quite awful. But that's audience and not the game itself. But the game often encouraged awful behavior. And it encouraged a gameplay that I didn't enjoy, and I felt like I had no other choice. So once I found other games that let me have the gameplay I enjoyed, I was happy. There are many things about D&D that I do not appreciate very much. I don't like the swinginess of the D20, pardon me. I don't like the rigidity of classes. I don't like alignments. I don't like, especially if you go back, like, there were no skills in D&D 1E unless you were a thief. Like, I don't like, there's just a lot about D&D that is not my cup of tea, but I will still play it. I'm probably not going to GM it, to be honest. I probably will not GM it because GMing a game, as you can tell from my streams, the way that I GM takes a lot of work and a lot of prep. I put a lot of thought and effort into putting together a game, and I'm not going to spend that time and effort GMing a system I don't like very much. Krellin says, it sometimes feels like D&D 5e was someone's response to Trooper's list of gripes with D&D. And Krellin, that's not untrue. D&D 5e is, how do I put this? So I swore off D&D. Well, I mean, okay, I say that I swore off D&D, but it's also not true because I keep playing it, right? I never played 2 and never played 4. Not because I hate 2 and 4, it's just that I never did. I played 1, I played 3, and I played 5. And I have GM'd 1 and I've GM'd 3. I've not yet GM'd 5. And I can conceive of circumstances where I would GM 5. I can think of a very specific circumstance that actually I would enjoy GMing 5, but that's different. But yes, D&D 5e has really done some thinking about the things that I have disliked about D&D historically, and they've done a lot to mitigate a lot of those things. And so I don't even hate playing 5e. Like, I will play 5e for like one-shots and miniseries and be quite happy. Would I do like a 1 to 20 level campaign in D&D? If the GM players were aligned with my playstyle, I probably would. I'd have to think about it. Javai says, I tend to prefer games other than D&D, largely due to playstyle and genre, but if I want a simple dungeon crawl, it is high my list of games that does it well. This is also true. Ormagon says, I feel about D&D being rigid. It's why I resort to homebrewing abilities, and I'm open to suggestions from players if they have an idea for a spell or ability that fits the general concept of a class, which I think is great. Levi, I haven't drank for a month. Well, I had a few the other night, but I was celebrating, and last night was Saturday, so I had a couple. Yes. I mean, Anarchdebate says, yeah, I do not like how swingy D20 is. In my opinion, players should only fail when there's actually a chance to fail, and fail shouldn't mean 100% failure every single time. There should be failing forward option when appropriate. So, like, failing forward is very popular in the indie scene, and I'm not a huge fan of it because I think failure is important. I actually think that failure is really, really important. I value failure very much in the sense that is failure is how is where you test your mettle in certain ways. And I think that there's much value in story when people fail. You learn many things about characters when they fail. You learn many things. The story can take dramatic turns when you fail. So I really enjoy failure. But I want failure to be realistic because, again, at my core, I'm sort of a simulationist GM who likes realism. And so I want failure to be realistic, which means if you are one of the best surgeons in the world, yes, there's a chance of failure, but that chance should be very, very small. And with a D20, those chances are not that small. Those chances are actually much larger than they should be. You give like a 5% chance to crit fail. And I don't want that to be a thing. Crit fail, like in GURPS, I think is like 1.2% chance, something like that. So I want, like, I think failure is great, but I want failure to be realistic. Ooh. Somebody's watching me, and I have no privacy. Whoa, I always feel that somebody's watching me. Tell me, is it just a dream? Thank you for the follow, Bacon Bandits. Bacon Bandits, do you steal bacon? Is that what happens? You've stolen all of the bacon. If you have, that's fair because bacon is delicious. So I honor your bacon thievery. Welcome in. So Ormagon says, also rule of thumb, no evil alignment, chaotic neutral is fine, but heavy punishment for people using chaotic neutral as a proxy for being a douche. If you stab a merchant guard, it's going to get badge judge you to death. I'm fine with people playing evil, but we have to have a conversation about it. We have to know that that's what the campaign's about, and everyone has to be on board. If everyone's not on board, and the same thing with being lawful good or whatever the campaign is. I'm very much a big fan of making sure the campaign has the best chance of success through character creation. Shavai says, I like the idea of failing forward, but not if it replaces failure. A game having both is good in my eyes. I like there to be options. C Spider says, the trap of failing forward is that those systems you tend to never fail or succeed straight. That is also sometimes true. Krellin says, subclasses are an answer to the rigidity of classes. Yes. The lower DC caps, proficiency and advantage disadvantage are an answer to swingy dice. Alignment is virtually non-existent. This is true. Like, they really did a lot to deal with my concerns, which I appreciate. Also, the way they reinterpreted alignment has also helped quite a lot. Failing forward should come from the story, not from the die roll. Crowlin says, I have a 122 medicine skill in my Dark Heresy game. I'm the best surgeon in the sector. I have a 1% chance of failure because 100 is... Right. Except that I also have fate points, so it's really important that I don't fail that one... If it's really important that I don't fail that 1% of the time, I can reroll. Being a lawful good vengeance hunter in a party full of vampires should not be allowed. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So I think... And again, it depends, right? Like, if I'm being asked to run a game where nobody ever fails, I will also do that if I feel like it. I mean, I have run Cthulhu Confidential twice. I'll be running it again in January. And in Cthulhu Confidential, you cannot fail. Players cannot fail in any information gathering skill, period. They can't fail. If they want to interrogate somebody and that person is able to be interrogated, they will get the information. Now, the one caveat is that some people, if you interrogate them, they're going to freak out and like collapse and you won't get information out of them. Instead, you have to just, you'd have to use like flattery, right? So basically, as long as you use the right skill, you'll get the information. You just have to say, I'd like to use that skill, and you'll get the information. Detect lies, you'll get the information. Search, there's no chance of failure in Cthulhu, in Gumshoe, basically, at all for investigative skills. And that's the whole point of those games. And I have run those, and I'll be running another one. So I certainly run games that are outside of my preferred norm, because I think it's important to run games in different styles with different sort of views of the world. Speaking of which, I really want to run 7th Sea, because that also has a different way of thinking about dice mechanics and how things work. So there are a bunch of things I want to run because I think they're important for me as a GM to get practice and get familiar with different game philosophies. Anarch Dovey says, let's say a group are running from a monster, and this monster can easily TPK, and you set a mechanical door in front of the players, and one of the players hack it open but fails, and that is the only way forward, and there's no other way to escape. Instead of having a TPK, you could just have the door open enough for one person to fit, or it's a TPK. I mean, that is also, I mean, one of the things is also about adventure design. Why did you design your adventure that way? Right, so that will become the question I would have to ask. I feel like some of the failing forward things are ways to correct for bad adventure design, and I prefer to not have bad adventure design. Right, so for me, like, if a GM puts a scenario in where there's a monster that can kill them completely with no help, there's no way that the people can get away from being killed, and then puts them in a corridor with a mechanical door that can only be opened if you hack it, and you have a system wherein it's very swingy and it's very likely you will not hack it, that's just the GM saying they want to kill all the players. And especially if nothing that the players did brought them to that situation, and I would have some questions about what the GM is doing in that situation, right? So for me, failing forward is a form of a fudge that is meant to either correct for bad die probabilities or bad GMs. And I am less enchanted with mechanics that assume that as a GM I'm working in bad faith. I'm also less enchanted by mechanics that, yeah, so that would be where I'm coming from on that one. I've retired several characters because they didn't fit the party well and wouldn't work with them long term without a lot of workarounds and heavyweight. Right? I mean, this is what we do. I have on occasion fudged the course of events where a fail leads to a second roll and then a third, so you don't fail something like walking off the curb. Again, I worry about what that system is like. The new Call of Cthulhu 7th edition has the ability for a reroll. Anyone can, within most circumstances, you can reroll your die, but it will, and this I actually quite like, that if, for example, you are rolling to open up that mechanical door and you fail, you can do a reroll, but there has to be some sort of negative consequence for that reroll. Like, what is the negative consequence for that? And like, that's an interesting trade-off because you have to make a choice then as a player, which I appreciate. I like it whenever players have to make choices. Whenever players have to make choices, I'm going to be happy as a GM and as a player. You can get that extra reroll, but you have to give up something like that. That I like. I've had experiences where the GM has gone, wait, let's pause here because I made this way too hard and you're going to die no matter what. Let me rework it. No, I'm going to get design done. We're getting design done like in 4 minutes. I think it works well in narrative games, especially more cinematic ones, but failing forward is not for all game types for sure. I mean, here's the thing. If you want super cinematic, you can just take away failure. That's the thing. That's what Gumshoe does. Gumshoe just says no failure at all. You can just not have players ever fail. Like, you can just do that. I really want to make a really short little indie game where there's no failure ever. That's it. The players get to dictate what they want, and they never fail. And the GM does whatever the players want. Because that's like really a lot of the tone of some of these indie games, and I just want to go all the way. Just all the way. Players get whatever they want, however they want it. The players just say what they want and they get it. And the GM is just there to sort of like support the players in getting what they want. And I'm gonna make that game. It'll be really short. It'll be like maybe like 1 or 2 pages, and it'll all be like I don't know, I'll get some kind of goofy name, but but nonetheless, you can you can just have a game where the players never fail. Gumshoe does that for all the investigation, like because all the Gumshoe games, of which actually I have a couple. I've got Ashen Stars, Trail of Cthulhu, Night's Black Agents. I think those are the 3 that I have, and those are all meant to be investigative games, and players will never fail in investigation. That's it. So they can fail. I mean, the only way they fail is if they don't try. Or use an inapplicable skill, but if they use the right skill, they're gonna. So like you can just play a game where the players never fail. If that's what you want, it is easily done. Easily done. Oh, Rissa, was that my sarcastic voice? Was it? I only fudge events when it's something menial, and it will be like walk off the curb, fail, you stumble, and lose balance roll. I mean, if it's something really menial, I just wouldn't have them roll. Like, I won't have them roll for something super menial because, right? The Sunshine, Sea Spider, I want to call it Yes and the T. That's exactly the title. And that is a little bit of my sarcastic voice, Rissa. That is indeed. But I'm sure there are people, like, I will make the Yes and the TTRPG. I will do it. Not right now, but I will do it. And I bet you there'll be people who really love it, who are like, this is what I want. And they'll be very excited. I do also think it is more common in games where the focus on the GM is lessened and it being more about the players driving the game with a GR there to run it. So failing forward might be in order to lessen the burden on the GM, as that tends to be what the game aims for. Well, lessen the burden, or they don't trust GMs. A lot of these games are coming from a space where they don't trust GMs. There are Burning Wheel came from a space where the designer did not trust GMs, and so there's quite a bit of the GM's job is to nod enthusiastically, but also there's a whole kind of service-oriented mentality in some of these games where like the GM's entire job is to do whatever the players want. So I want to build that into Yes and the TTRPG. Gary Gygax did inflict a lot of trauma on some people, and that is true. And one of these things about the sort of the GM attitude is that, and I'm just going to tell you, I was in a Discord that I'm no longer in, but it was like supposed to be like a really welcoming place to talk about TTRPGs, and I was like, cool, I'll be here. And it was full of indie gamers who said things that I was like, wow. And I play indie games and I GM indie games. I'm not anti-indie game at all. I like all of the games. And people were saying in that conversation that games with GMs are inherently fascist, and anyone who wants a game with a GM is basically a Nazi, and that the best games are those with no GMs at all. And that basically the things they said, I was like, wow, okay, well then, I had to leave. I was like, I cannot be here because this is super this is not like this is so much bad, wrong, fun happening right now that I cannot. Don't most stream games already use Yes and the TTRPG? I don't know, Jer. There's been some, like, CR's killed some people, and there's been a lot of failure. I couldn't play that when I'm running a game. I'm God, and the players are my pawns. The freedom bestowed on them is a privilege, not a right. Can we keep the bar for Nazis at, like, Nazis? You know, Levi, this is where I'm at, right? This is where I'm at. But there are people who really believe that nobody would want to, like, basically no player wants to play in a game like that. And the power differential between GMs and players is all about GMs being fascist and ego-driven, and it's unhealthy, and no good progressive game would ever have a GM. And there are people who feel this way, and then they design games, right? They feel this way, and then they design games. And they design games that either have no GMs, or they do have GMs, but they disempower the GM so heavily that it's like, what is the point of that GM even being there? So I'm just saying that there are people who are super into that mindset, and we'll see. The Night Witches couldn't roll to save themselves on Anthem, and that is also true. That is also true. I love playing a well-crafted narrative or world where the GM has a plan and knows what they're doing. Yeah, but they're also, I mean, yeah, I've heard a lot of things, not just in that Discord, but also on Twitter. There's a real move in the kind of indie scene to disempower GMs in a pretty serious way. And, that is one of the spaces that we're in, and we just have to know it. And I think for people who enjoy that style of game, it's great, right? Where they get what they want and they can do what they want. And I think there are a lot of people who really enjoy that. I clearly am not going to GM a game like that, because I feel like if you don't want me here, I'm not going to be here. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't want me actually here, then I'm not going to be here. And also, I will. Yeah. Giving that a plan, just making stuff up as the players go would be a nightmare. It depends on how you do it. There are different ways to make things up, or Magon. A really good sandbox allows you the kind of the flexibility to make things up but have a framework. So it's all about, I think it's all about how you design it. The Night Witches couldn't roll to save their wingmates 9 times out of 10. I would argue a sandbox possibly has less of a plan in that case, but more of a blueprint for the world. Yeah. I always have the main plot line set pretty much in store with multiple paths to achievement, and then just make stuff up for side quests. When I'm doing my preferred style, I, as the GM, don't have a plan. My preferred style is sandbox, where as a GM, I do not have a plan. I'm responsive, but the NPCs have plans. The NPCs know what they want to do, and they hope they will be successful, but I don't know if they'll be successful. I don't know what's going to happen, because I personally am not invested in what the PCs want. The NPCs want things, and I'm not invested in what the NPCs want. They're just the NPCs doing their thing, and they have plans. And my job then is to figure out how the NPCs' plans adjust and change the things happening in the world. But me, I don't have a plan, and I'm not invested. I'm just there to sort of to manage the sandbox and to make sure that it has momentum and drive. But I, in my preferred style, don't have a plan. If I'm doing another style, then I will. Lena would throw herself into any old danger pit that came along. Oh, yeah, she would. And would you have a feeling and a world you have a feeling for, I imagine, as well? Yeah, I have to know the world really well. That's why in my preferred style, I do the bulk of my prep before the game starts. Like, I'm thinking about running this game in February, and I'm like, is that too soon? I've got so much I want to do, because I need to know a lot about the world in order for it to work well, the kind of style that I like. In RW, I've not found my style. Just play lots of different things. Play all sorts of different games and just see what you like. Play with different GMs. That's how I do it. Play really different systems that encourage different styles. Yeah, I mean, and it's also great. Like, I love adding new things and feeling like, oh, I can do this style and this style, being able to sort of do multiple different styles. I'm pretty good at a lot of different styles. There's some that I'm less good at, but I'm pretty good at it. I know how the world works, and then they live in it. Yes, and then I'm there to be like, let's go. So I want to do some challenges. Let's you have a lot of prep to do before your next academic quarter. I do. I have prep for this academic semester, as a matter of fact, but I've got a lot of prep for this game, and I really want to get a bunch of it done. I want to do a lot of stuff so that I can start in February. February sounds so soon. March at the latest. February, March at the latest, because I want to get done by the beginning of the summer. So that for my life, but it's just a lot of prep, because I want to get all of the background stuff together. I need to build, and some of this might be doing on stream with you all. We will see, because I might do some Friday streams when we hit January, depending on, because here's the deal. If I stream with you all, then I get work done. And, you know, February at least has 29 days this year. That's something, right? So yeah, if I can do all the prep that I want to do, then I'll have things set up, and then my prep once the campaign starts won't be as heavy. It's just that it's a lot of prep before the campaign starts. I don't think you have the range for that. I hope I do. I hope I do. So let's why is that? That's not right. Oh, you know what it is? Hey, I just realized something. We're at the wrong screen. I need game capture. Oh no, that's not the wrong one. This one. That's the one. Press the wrong button. Press the wrong button. My shade throw is stuck on. Oh, it's fine. You know what, Krellin? You're not getting work done right now? I know, but it's fine. It's fine. Going back to the Necrolich Gray thing, that happening, the players will encounter it and it will affect them, whether they decide to storm the Necro's Keep or not. They could avoid it with some effort, but the world is happening. Yeah. Switched. There we go. Mic. Switched. I switched cameras. And now I'm over here. I just switched cameras. Now I'm over here. It's great. Mike Face. Yeah, so I try to... Hello, Vulpes. We're just about to do some challenges. So I try to... yeah, I mean, and for me personally, it's... When I run, I really enjoy not me personally having a plot, because I think it's important for me not to be invested in my own plots so much. I want to be invested in what happens, right? Like, I think of myself as a referee. So I think of myself as a referee rather than an author, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm just part of the team and we do it. It was a Daft Punk cosplay is what it was. Has anyone else felt that space in sci-fi RPGs is not that much of a threat? From what I've flipped through, space often is a non-entity. Anarchdevy, you can make it one in GURPS. If you wanted, you could do it. You could do it. Rufus and his squeaky toy say hi. Hey, Rufus. So here we are. Let me pull up some characters. Let's just... let's pull up a couple of characters. That's not what I wanted. That was not what I wanted. We've got Forrest Williams, who's our American poet and scholar. So, by the way, I am going to change some of these skills and how aspects work a little bit. And we've got... So there's going to be a couple of changes. We'll work it out. And then we've got our Judith Lemaire, who's our charismatic singer from the countryside. And we've got Liam Lamberg, who is our thief. Our daredevil acrobat. Now, there are going to be a couple of things that I think would be relevant to our challenges that involve factions, but we're not going to deal with that right now. So, and also game level aspects, which we will also not deal with at the moment. But we will get there. We'll get there later. We will see how that goes on. And then we have Marie Roland, who's our gentle giant stagehand. So here are our 4 characters. Woo! Pardon me. Judith. Let me just set them up, and then we will chat together and see what we can get doing. How we go, and then we'll talk about how the rules work and what we've got going on. Ooh. Exactly. If I want, Sea Spider says, if I want something to happen, I'm afraid to make it happen in detriment of the game. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Anarch-W, that's Levi says, that's because people see space as nothing, but we all know space is actually full of terror. Yes. Ormagon says, I don't know if I think myself more like the living, breathing world, and I can't do it without my world having a history with both good aspects and dark corners, waiting to lash out and sprinkle some morally gray happenings sprinkled in that just progress in the background. Yeah. I'm just a big fan of, and for me, it's a little mini game that I love. Anarchy says, just because you would have FTL capability, going to space is a big deal. It isn't like booking a flight for vacation. I'm just saying there are some games you can do that in some systems, Kerps. I really, for me, there's a little bit of a mini game that I really enjoy of figuring out what the people in the world, how the world will react to what the PCs do. Like that is like one of my that is one of my favorite things as a GM. I love thinking, okay, well the PCs did this. Now what will the world do? What will the people in the world do? And I love that. Like that for me is super fun. GURPS is not the answer to everything, but it is an answer to some things. I think I don't know how Traveler First Edition deals with space or Eclipse Phase. I would have to look at those to see how they do. Okay, so challenges are the first thing. The first thing we've got are challenges. So, there's a thing that there's a thing that, can I do this? I can. There's a thing that Little Red Dot does on her overlays, which is really good, and I don't know if I can do it, but maybe I can. So what I want is to go to map and background, and I want to draw shapes and large. So she would have 4 boxes set up on the canvas. I wonder if I can just copy and paste. Looks like I can't. That's fine. We're gonna have to delete some things. Maybe I can. I don't know. We're gonna ponder this. We'll ponder it because these are all unequal and I don't like it. Because I'm that way, but it's fine. I wonder if you can copy and paste. I imagine you must be able to, right? I imagine you must be able to. In the end, there are 2 possibilities. Either there is life out there in the universe or there is not. And frankly, I do not know which one scares me the most. Some smart guy whose name I forgot. So here are 4 boxes, which, it's not the best, but it is what it is. And then let's do, I'm looking for text. And I'm making this up because I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was game aspects. And then there was scene aspect. I feel like there were more than just game and scene, but, we will game aspects, scene aspects. I feel like there were more, but this is good to know. Thank you. And now I'm going to go back to object tokens. So we've got game aspects and scene aspects, and I don't remember all of them. I don't remember all of the details, but we'll work it out. So let's do some challenges. So in Fate, there are 3 types of struggles: challenges, contests, and conflicts. So challenges are when you are going after something basically static, right? So to unlock the door, to you're gonna roll against your skills to do a thing, right? That's like your basic challenge. And I need to go get some cancer sticks before the store closes. I'm gonna be lurking till I get back. Okay, all right. Lurk away. So and then you know what I want to do? I think I have an idea. I'm going to actually make 2 different, I want to select all of them. Can I do that? It looks like I cannot. That makes me sad. Well, this is not optimal, but we'll do it anyway. So what I want is a situation where our player characters need to go and solve some challenges, which can be a multi-challenge affair as well. So here's what I'm thinking. We have our characters. They've gone out into the countryside because they need to. Alien has rules for space without a compression suit. In short, it's a terrible way to go. That's good. I would imagine Alien would have something like that. Go back to the back. Oh. See, there are reasons why Jer. And now I want to copy. Can I just copy paste? Can I just Control C, Control V? Can I do that? Does that even work? Does it work? I feel like maybe it does. Maybe. Now let me go here and let me make a new page, which will be, we'll just call this scenes. And we'll just see how this goes. Oh, dang it. These characters show up no matter where you go, so it doesn't matter. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. And now I'm trying to paste it. Yeah, it does work. But, oh no. But it doesn't give me what I want. Also, my life is sad, but it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. I thought that I could. It's fine. It doesn't even matter. Okay, so this is why we keep Jer. So here we are. Let's go back to our object and tokens. So let's have a scene where our crew of Resistance members have gone off into the countryside, and they have gone. Okay, so a British pilot has airdropped into the countryside. No. I know what it is. Because this happened. I'm trying to think about things that would actually happen. So the British have airdropped supplies in the countryside for the Resistance. So like a cache of guns and ammunition and various supplies, right? So the British would do this. They would drop these sort of like big canisters. Like they weren't actually rockets. They were canisters full of stuff. Jer's awesome. So our heroes need to go off into the countryside, get these supplies, and then bring them back into Paris. So this is going to be the scenario. Our game aspects, I have some game aspects that I thought that I could steal from... where are they? That I could steal from Achtung Cthulhu, which I think is pretty cool. And we can maybe, alter them a little bit, but where are they? Secret and occult societies, the other secret war, might makes right. From the shadows, no. What kind of guns and supplies Americans dropped Liberator? I think, Americans did. There's like a bunch in there. I'm looking for artifacts, monsters, and monstrosities. I should just look at the table of contents. So we're going to get some. What is this? Game creation and advancement. 245. Somebody's watching me, and I have no privacy. Whoa, I always feel that somebody's watching me. Tell me, is it just a dream? Thank you for the follow, Ormagon6666. It's like 666, the number of the beast, but one extra. Thank you for the follow. You should hang out with us. We're, we're very cool. So, there are these, we're going to go back here for a moment for the background, for the game aspects. There's some very cool aspects they have. They have, in Achtung Cthulhu, they have different sort of modes of play. Pulp action, military narrative, mysteries around every corner, spies among us, spies among them, bookworms to the rescue, Lovecraftian bleakness, and each of these has 3 sample game aspects. And I'm just going to use the ones from Spies among us, spies among them, because they seem good. We'll say shady and uncertain allegiances is one. Volpes, you cheered. Aspects forgotten forever. So Volpes, I want to thank you for those hello second OBS. I want to thank you for those bits, and I want you to know that you have triggered. Oh, I haven't done my wrist exercises. I'll do them. You've triggered the song. So. OBS, not OBS. Sorry, second OBS, not OBS. Pardon me. So for you, Volpes, "We're in the Money" as sung by Ginger Rogers in the film Gold Diggers of 1933, and that means in Pig Latin. Earway and hey the anime. Earway and hey the anime. Eve way at gale at way at wakes to ute at gale ang way. Earway and hey the anime. Either I skays are ani say. Oh man the ashen pray ooey are ooh three of us stay us way on rail. Ewe every eat ray ed leons lay, hey of way ed brayons lay ute day. And when we see the end or uklat the eye gate rin the eye. We're in the money, we're in the money. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along. Thank you, Volpes. Enough Pig Latin. Time for Elder God Latin. No vowels ever. That's true. There are never any vowels. Oh no, but I've done them once today. It's just that I started doing my stretches, but then I didn't do the wrist parts. But you know, I'm pretty good at it. I've already eaten 2 times today, and I'll have my third meal right after stream. So I feel like I'm doing really, really well. I feel like I'm very responsible right now, more or less. I mean, you know. So shady, uncertain allegiances. Trust is a double-edged sword. And their other one, we have to have a better font for this, but don't worry about it, will be there's one here, layers of secrets and an onion for there will be tears, but I actually want something more specific. We're going to say the Nazis are everywhere. So those are our game aspects right now that our heroes have to deal with. Because we'll have one of our own. And those are our game aspects. And let's say scene aspects is they would have done this at night. So let's say it is a moonless night is one of our scene aspects. And then we'll say we need another one. Let's say it's a moonless night. We'll say remote countryside. And hey Skexy, ran into someone going through the Fate core book on the T on the way home last night. Was it me? So we moonless night, remote countryside, and let's say it is also bitter cold. Let's go with that. Those are our scene aspects. And you want to have aspects like between 3 to 6 for each scene, because they are able to be invoked and used by the and now let's go to objects and tokens. They're able to be used by the players, right? So okay, so our players have to get to, just to like run through some of these things, how they work, they have to get to this drop, and they need to pick up these supplies and then smuggle the supplies back into back into Paris. Are you sure, Skexy? Are you sure? So they make it out of the city. They're in the countryside. They have got a cart, let's say, that's full of hay. They've got a cart that's full of apples, sort of like fruit and vegetables, let's say, right? And they've got so they've got, let's say that they've got a false bottom on their cart as well. And these were things that were created. Well, let's do that. Let's say they're going to have to do some prep work for their mission. They need to, in order to sort of, before they left, Marie, not cheese, looking for a cheese vendor. Marie wants to be able to build this cart of theirs with a false bottom so that they could be, what's the word? Ready for this. And so what she wants to do is she wants to create an advantage, because that's sort of how this works. Anarchy, these are characters we all made together on stream, session 1. So this is session 3 of the campaign prep. So session 1, we made the characters together, just to sort of get used to making characters. We went through them all together and made them. And now it'll be a little bit different next time around. And then session 2, we worked a little bit on making factions, but we're going to work more on that. And then today we're going to put them through their paces. So Marie has she's got handcrafts at 3. And she would like to create false bottomed, sort of like a camouflaged false bottomed for the cart. And I will say this is as a challenge, this is a good challenge. So that's a 3. And she's going to roll against her handcrafts. Oh, by the way, they all have fate points. I just bought some fate points. I got them from the Kickstarter, and so I'm going to open up my fate points because we're hanging out together. I've got to figure out a way to indicate how many fate points people have online. I think I can probably do it with what do you call it? With tokens. I can probably make tokens for everyone, and the tokens will note how many fate points they have. So exciting. I'm going to have to run this in person before the stream starts. So, as prep, she's going to do this. She's going to roll her handcrafts. The Roll20's card system for fate cards. Oh, you mean giving them tokens like I'm using tokens for Cthulhu Confidential. Yeah, because I have tokens for Cthulhu Confidential, which I'm using, so I could do that. I'll have to see how I like it for multiple people. I mean, because I'm already doing something like it, so it wouldn't be that hard. So she's going to use handcrafts, and let's see how this goes. She rolls a 2, which is not enough for her to make a very good false bottom. So that's a failure by 1, but she can use one of her fate points, which she will. So she's got the aspect carpentry for stage and contraband, which is enough of a justification. So everybody starts in this game with 2 fate points. In regular fate, on the regular settings you get 3, but in this one you get 2 to make it a little bit more, just a little more. So she is going to use one of her fate points to give herself, and when you use, how is a +5 not a good false bottom? She only got a 2, because the dice came up to -1. Yeah, so it was 0, 0, -0 +3. So this roll is the total with your skill and the 46. So you get the they do everything for you, so you just get the result. So yeah, so she can spend a fate point, and she has 2, so she can spend a fate point. If she spends a fate point, she can do a couple of things. She can invoke her aspect to either get a +2 on her roll, or to re-roll all her dice. Or she can spend the fate point to power a stunt. Does she... Ooh, hold on. Where are we at? Does she have any stunts that are useful? No, that one is not useful. She can also spend this point to refuse a compel, which we'll get to, or she can spend this fate point to declare a story detail. But she just wants to sort of get this going. So she is going to... Here's the question. What do you think? Should she spend the point for a +2, which will give her a 4, which will mean that she succeeds? Or do you think she should... and by the way, she's trying to... What she's doing there... I should explain this too. In Fate, there are 4 actions you can take. You can attack, you can defend. Those are all very straightforward. You can overcome, which is like, I need you to pick a lock. You overcome. Or you can create an advantage. And right now what she's wanting to do is create an advantage. And that advantage is that she has this this false bottom. So your average roll... Yeah. Do we just take the +2 for the sure thing? Let's do it. We're going to play safe and take the +2. So she takes the +2, which gives her a 4 on her roll. The opposition was 3, because it's a little bit difficult to make a really good false bottom. So she succeeds by 1. If you succeed by 1, that's a regular success, which means she gets to add an aspect to the scene, right? And the aspect that she's going to add, because she is able to, is false bottom cart. And here's the thing: when you, because she's creating an advantage, right? She gets to sort of create an aspect to put into the game, and the aspect she's putting in the game is false bottom cart. And because she succeeded regularly, she gets 1 free invoke, and this will be important later. If she had succeeded by 3 or more, she would have 2 free invokes, but at the moment she just has 1 free invoke on this false bottom cart. That's where we're at. So that was something that she wanted to do before setting off. So we set off. They head off in this cart. I think not using the fate point. So if we didn't use the fate point, then they would. She would have failed at creating this false bottom cart, or she'd have one, but it would be, people would be able to see through it, and then it would make so if Anarch W wants her to fail, so she will not use the fate point, so she will fail, because Anarch W wants them to be caught and killed by Nazis, I think is what's happening. So Anarch W wants her characters to die, so and fail at their mission. So we're gonna follow Anarch W, who wants them to die. So all right, Anarch W, she fails at her roll by 1. So she makes a false bottom cart, but it's a bad one, and it will be able to be seen through. So what happens at this moment? At this point, because she does not use a fate point to succeed in her roll, and she fails, and that's Anarch Devi. Whatever happens to them, if they all die, that's on you, because you want them. That is what you want. So she fails. She has. It sounded like you used both fate points to get a total of 4. No. If for one fate point you can get a +2, or you can re-roll your dice. So a fate point is a +2 to your roll, or a re-roll, whichever one you think is better. So with a fate point, you can either, well, to be clear, you can only re-roll or get a +2 if you have an aspect that is relevant. If you don't have an aspect that is relevant, then you can't. So because she does, her aspect that is relevant is that she's a carpenter for contraband, right? Then she can spend this fate point. Or if you don't, you can spend a fate point for the +2 or the reroll, or you can just spend a fate point to declare a story detail. Hey, 999 ELB, we are going through some challenges, and Anarch Devi wants our PCs to die. This always happens when you leave things up to the chat. They want everyone to die. So we're going to go and find out. We're going to go and preside over what may be a terribly failed mission. We will see. And we will find out how this happens. So hey, Anarch Devi says it, so we're gonna do it. So either you can declare a story detail with a fate point, you can re-roll or get a +2 with a fate point. You can deny a compel, you can refuse a compel, which we'll get to, or you can power a stunt, but none of them have stunts that require fate points. Well, you came in second, Krellin, so it's too late. So at this point in time, she failed her ability, her trying to create an advantage. Now, when you fail, you have an option. The option is, so there are 4 options when you roll. You can fail if you do not make the thing. You can tie if you make it exactly. You can succeed if you make it by 1 or 2, or you can succeed with style, which is 3 or more. I'm currently on lift duty, so I might be here 5 minutes or 2 hours. I hope you can be here as long as you can. So now we have a second choice to make. So rather than spending the fate point to succeed, she's failing. At this point in time, she has a choice that she can make. I do like it when players have choices to make. And the choice is she can just fail, or she can succeed at a serious cost. And so that would be that she can still succeed. She can still succeed if she really wants to, but there will be a terrible consequence that will make everybody's life worse. Rissa says, succeed at a serious cost. Okay, so we're gonna get a succeed at a serious cost. So, all right. So, oh yeah, but this is actually just gonna be. This is not gonna be great. So there is going to be a false bottom cart, which is what she wanted, but it is going to be. You know what I need to do? This I need to edit this. There we go. Poorly constructed. Let's say an unknowingly poorly constructed false bottom cart. And that invoke goes to the enemies. Yeah, so there is unknowing, that's not even how you spell that. How do you spell that? Unknowingly poorly constructed false bottom cart. So what has happened is that the aspect has been created, but I have changed it to make it not a great aspect for them, and there is one free invoke, but the enemies get to use it, not them. So they don't unknowingly Thank you. I got it. So they don't get to use that invoke at all. The enemies will get to use it against them instead. So, yeah. So there is a false bottom cart, but it is poorly constructed, and the enemies will be able to get a free invoke on it. So off they go into the countryside, our heroes, sort of disguised as farmers, right? People who work at vendors, right? People who work at a fruit and veg stall, that sort of a thing. They're going to go off, and they need to, because we're doing our challenges, they need to find this... the thing, then they need to hide it in their stall, put it in there, and they need to come back. So we're gonna have now there's a skill that we don't have that I'm going to have to add, and that is survival is the one that you would use for this, but we do not currently have that as a skill, but we will get it. We will add it. Yes, find cash, right? It's simple. Judith, what's her notice? That's Liam. Liam's notice is 1. Judith's notice is 1. Forrest, how are you? Do you have a good notice? No. So, none of them are very good at noticing things. Oops, I just closed that off. Bummer. Hold on. That was Forrest, pardon me. Yeah, so that's not great for any of them. That's sad times for all of them. So we're going to have Liam, who's our, thiefy acrobat type. He's going to try to sort of map guide this to sort of try to find the cache. Now I'm going to note that I'm going to change the skills. I'm going to add the survival skill, which would be map reading and all of that. So there's going to be, yeah, it is a bad thing for spies. They're doing other things. So we're gonna include survival as a new skill, and this is going to be just like a fair challenge. It's not too bad. But it's a fair challenge. That's a 2 that Liam needs to get. Liam rolls a 1. Does he have any aspects that he can use to invoke? Daredevil Acrobat, Sticky Fingers, Sneak on the side, I'll pay my debt to Marie, Itchy Expert, Trigger Finger. No, he does not. He doesn't. This is... Hey, we went with the concept rather than what's the word? And actually, I don't know if they have a lot of overlap. Liam's good is burglary and shoot. Marie's goods are handcrafts and physique. Judith's goods are no, that's Liam. Judith's goods are rapport and contacts. And Forrest's goods are academics and forgery. So they have they're really good at different things. So they are he fails, and he has no aspects that can help him. Universified, well, but I did not design them like a D&D party where they were all like going to cover this like different things. I designed this like, well, this is who this character is. So like they made their character. So this is a fail. Here's the question. They have no scout. They should have a scout. So the question is, they cannot use any fate points to help themselves out because Liam does not have any aspects that will help him, and there are no scene aspects or game aspects that will help them either. So he cannot use a fate point here. He can take a success at a serious cost though, or they just don't get it. So the question is, do they want the serious cost, or do they want to fail at the mission? Which one? Which one? Just like the real resistance cells, they were made up of people who were there and who could trust each other just enough to make themselves known to one another. They couldn't pick and choose skill sets and pair off. It's true. It's true. So here's the question. Do they fail at the mission and come home empty-handed, or do they succeed at a cost? What do y'all want? Anarch.v wants succeed at a cost. All right. So what is the cost going to be? So this was an overcome. Overcome is what it was, and this is going to be a failure at a major cost. So they will find it, but there's a significant price to be paid. The situation gets worse or more complicated. Okay, so let's see. We need a good situation that will be worse for them. It says the GM, you can either declare this as the result or offer it as a place of failure. Both options are good and useful in different situations. So what's going to happen is, I think, one, it's going to take them a really long time to find it, so it will be daylight already by the time they find it, so they won't have any cover. But that is not serious enough of a cost. The other thing is that besides it being daylight now, they also, like it's dawn. It'll be dawn by the time they actually find it and load it in. They also will find. They will also find an injured pilot. Allied pilot. So there'll be an injured, and I mean quite injured, Allied pilot who's out there and cannot be left out there. And it took them so long that it is now daylight. And yeah, because I feel like that's a pretty serious complication. An injured, let's say, American pilot who doesn't speak any French and is kind of conspicuous, and they can't leave him there because he'll be found. So let's do that. Let's give them that as a major cost. It is now daylight, so they don't have cover anymore, and yeah. Do the players speak English? It depends on their character concept. Forrest is an American, so he does speak English. And I don't think any of the others have any aspects that would indicate that they can speak English. So unless you have an aspect that says that you can, then you cannot. Stacy's picturing scenes from Top Secret. So Forrest speaks English because it's in his backstory. The others do not. So they're able to communicate with this really injured and in a lot of pain and moaning and somewhat delirious pilot. One of our characters, Marie, we're going to say that she has... Hello, Marie. A lot of stuff gets lost in translation. We're going to have her trade out rapport for medic, because we're going to add that as a skill. She's going to use her medic skill to try and stabilize this guy, so maybe he won't be so moany and terrible. So she's going to roll her medic skill, and this is going to be a fair. That's a 2. She rolls a 1. That is a failure. But she feels like... Yeah, she doesn't have any good aspects for this. Have a translation roll? No, Forrest is a Native American. He's he's a U.S. national, so he's English is his native tongue, so he shouldn't have any problems with translation. Yeah, so she's going to fail on this roll unless she wants to succeed at a major cost. So the question is, what is she going to do? Yeah. So she is not a good enough. Yeah. Yep. So she fails at her medic roll to try to stabilize this guy. What do we think? Does she make this failure, or does she succeed at a major cost? Because she's not, she's not really a medic. She's got basic skills. So, what do we do? All right. So Anarchy just wants him to succeed at major cost. So we're going to have her patch him up. And this... Yeah, she has the generic first aid alert, so that is all she has. So the major cost is that he is going to live. We have the sort of injured pilot moaning in pain and bleeding out. Well, he's no longer bleeding out. She stopped that, but he's moaning in pain and delirious. And there's going to be an enemy evoke on that. Yep. The pilot is not mobile at all. Not mobile. So they've got to go and pack them up into this cart to get out of here. And now it's daytime, so that's terrible. They've got this false bottom, and they can put all their supplies. So they've got guns now, they've got ammo, and Liam has decided that he's going to put a gun on him. He's going to take one of the guns and stash it on his body, just in case. He'll have it, at hand. Oh, he'll have it. He won't have it on his body. He'll have it like under the seat of the cart, so he can sort of pull it out if he needs it. Everything else will be stored underneath, and they're going to. Can we just get the part where the Nazis win and execute them all? I'm in a bad mood, so I don't want to watch a slow being failure. Hey, all starts slowly with bad choices. Delirious. All right. No, this is these weapons were all airdropped in, right? So they were airdropped in by the Allies in one of their basically care packages. So this is was the Sten. Like there's a particular weapon that they sent to the Resistance. The OSS would send to the Resistance all the time. It's like everywhere for this. So it's like these little guns. So off they go. Now it's dawn, and they're heading back towards the city. Yeah, there's actually what was it called? I need, where is it? GURPS World War II, Return to Honor, maybe? All the King's Men, Dog Faces, Iron Cross, Motor Pool, Frozen Hell, Grim Legions. What is this? Hand of Steel. I think it's Return to Honor. Give me a second. Paris. What was the name of them? It was the... I have the name of the weapon in my mind somewhere. French Navy. This is, by the way, a GURPS supplement because they're very good. French Underground Networks. Activities Identification Supply. The SOE, right, dropped resistance, lots of things. They gave them... I have it. I've got it. There's a little gun that they sort of manufactured in huge numbers. It was like, it's kind of like an Uzi, but it's not. And it's you assemble it, like you assemble it to put it together. And yeah, no, but this was a all right, now you want me to find it. It was a, where am I going to find this? Where am I going to find this? Where is this weapon listed? Maybe it's in World War II itself. It's yeah, it was made special for the resistance because it was able to be sort of broken down. And then armory, small arms table, 92. I'll probably remember it if I look at it. Small arms. Which one was it? Oh! Wait! Bob! Second OBS, wait. He posted a link. It's second OBS. You can post your link. Second OBS, post your link. Yeah, I have it written down, but they had these little weapons that they would send across. They could be assembled, and they were like the weapons of the resistance. I have to look. Anyway, so he's going to have one, and they're going to sort of make their way back, and they're going to come across the checkpoint. So they come across this checkpoint. In this checkpoint, there are 3 Nazis. Well, they probably wouldn't be Nazis at this point in time. They'd probably be like, well, maybe they are because there are Nazis everywhere. So there are 3 Nazis, 2 regular soldiers, and a supervisor, and they come up to this checkpoint, and it's now dawn, so the people can see them and see their faces, and the guards come out, and they are going to challenge our PCs to sort of see, what are you doing? The only thing I think is the Liberator 45, but those were just really junky single-use guns. No, I don't think that was it. I was watching this really good reality show called Churchill's Next Agents, and it was all about, they sent a bunch of people through training, SOE training, which was really cool. But that SOE training talked about the guns that they gave. Hold on, let me see. Internet. It was the Sten. Operation Jedburgh. Yeah, I think it was the Sten, right? I think it was the Sten. Yeah. So they're coming upon this this moment, and they need to make it through. They need to get past this this problem, and we're gonna go in. This is gonna be fully auto, quick, yeah, unreliable as hell and inaccurate to a fault. The Sten. You know, if you're in short range, it might be fine. So here we are. We are in this moment. We're coming upon these. I think it did actually. I think it did have the magazine load from the top. So we are going to have to make it through this challenge. So the question is, what is this? Is this a challenge, a conflict, or a contest? In short range, you can DACA anything. Yeah. So let's say it's I feel like this is probably a challenge because they're trying to talk their way past this thing. And what's going to happen is, where are our? Let's go back to the. Here we go. Judith Lemaire is going to try to create an advantage by distracting the guards with some lovely patter, right? So that's what she's going to do. She's going to try to use her rapport to just try to, distract the guards with chat while they're trying to, try to get by them. Yes. So she's gonna so let's see who's driving. Liam Lamberg is driving the vehicle. Oh no, wait, I think Forrest Williams is driving, right? I think Forrest might have some driving skills, maybe. Yes. So Forrest is driving the cart, and Judith is up front with him as well, or maybe she's in the back, and she's up front. And the other two are in the back. The injured pilot is in the crawl space with them, with the supplies. And it's going to be, maybe it's a contest. Let's make this a contest. That I think will be a little bit more interesting. Right? Yes, let's make it a contest. I think that'll be. We're going to try this as a contest to see how this works and I think the reason why is because I imagine this as being a slightly longer situation, and we're going to have. We're gonna try to do this as a contest. So a contest, the first person to three victories win, and gets what they want. So when you do a contest, each side declares what they want, and we'll see which happens. The resistance members want to get through this checkpoint without. They want to get through the checkpoint. That's what they want. They want to be let through the checkpoint without all their stuff being discovered. The guards want to discover any partisans and resistance members and bad guys. So they want to discover, and the heroes want to flee. So here's the thing, and I'm going to say, why did I choose a contest rather than a challenge? And I think it's because I'm choosing contest because challenges do not feel as if they are. So a challenge is a complicated or dynamic situation when you're opposed by someone or something, but there isn't a dominant other side. In this case, there is a dominant other side. So in that case, right, the challenge is when there's not a dominant other side, and this, I think there is. A contest is when two parties are pursuing mutually exclusive goals, but not actively harming one another, which sounds like what this is to me. And then a conflict is when the characters can and want to harm one another, or at least one side does. So this will be a contest. So now we get to see what contests look like. All right. Oh, by the way, it is no longer a moonless night. It is now. I'll just add this. We'll just be fine. Not harming each other yet. We'll call this early morning. Bright early morning is our new aspect, sadly. Okay. So, how we're gonna start? The guards come out and they're like, "Who are you? What do you want? What do you what are you doing here? Where have you come from? What is your business? And then our player who's playing Judith decides to do a little bit of a talking. You know, she's going to do a little bit of, well, you know, we work, you know, we were out, we work in Paris. We sell fruits and vegetables, but also I have family out here. So me and my friends went out for a birthday party, and as well as to sort of gather up our food, for to sell in the morning, and we're just coming back. It was a long day and a long night, and I'm sure you understand how that is. And you know, maybe you would like one of our apples. They're very fresh. So there, she's going to give this patter, and she's going to roll her rapport. She's talking to the head of the guards, so she's rolling her rapport. And she gets a 2. Charismatic singer for the countryside, secret lavender lover, connected to the underground, colludes with constables. Liam gets in trouble without me. So she rolls a 2. Our guard is, he's a guard, and I feel like, what would you do to figure out if somebody's lying to you? I feel like that would be empathy. Right, use empathy to pick up on lies. And I feel like his empathy is probably a 2. So let's have him roll 4D fudge plus 2. So he rolls a 2 as well. It's a tie. It's a tie. So, oh, wait, there's a thing about ties in contests. Yes. Here's, well, before we decide, is there anything that they can do to, you know, is there anything that they can do to sort of get out of this? Let's see. She thinks that she's going to spend a fate point. Judith is going to spend a fate point to get a +2. And she's going to justify it like this. She's going to say that because she's a charismatic singer from the countryside, yes, her stunt is that when she's looking for black market goods, she may use contacts instead of resources. So because she's a charismatic singer from the countryside, oh, by the way, there are 3 of them, so I have 3 fate points is what I have. She is going to be able to use her charisma to be more convincing. So she is going to use her fate point, giving her a 4 to his 2, which means she wins this round of the sort of the part of this. And so that she gets her team, her side gets 1 check mark. Whoever gets 3 check mark first wins. We'll say heroes and villains. So while she's talking and distracting the main person who's the most competent, the other 2 guards start walking around the cart to check out to see if there's any kind of contraband happening. So they're going to go and search. They're going to search the area. And so they're going to look with their notice, and they probably have a notice of 1. And I think we're going to stealth resist with I feel like this is going to be tradecraft, and it's going to be Liam's tradecraft. He's got burglary, but we're going to rename burglary tradecraft because that's what you're going to use to try to hide things. So Liam is going to resist that. So he's going to roll his tradecraft to sort of make it so that they can't see. Oops. They can't notice the things. He rolls a 3. And the guards are going to roll 4D fudge, but they only have, a +1 for their notice. They get a -1. However, they have a free invoke as they're searching, right? We have 2 free invokes, and those are, we have a poorly constructed false bottom cart, which is a free invoke, and we also have this moaning and delirious free invoke. And I think our guard is going to get that free invoke on the poorly constructed false bottom cart, which will allow him to either get a +2 or a reroll, and he's going to do a reroll because that roll was terrible. This is why you don't want to give them free evokes. That's a 1, and that's still really awful. Yeah. He can also spend... You know what? He's going to spend a fate point and take that free evoke on the pilot for a +4. No, you can spend. They can spend their. You can spend your fate points and you can spend them retroactively, and you can only invoke. You can only invoke your fate points, the same aspect twice. So, injured pilot will give them 1. Yes, Antarctica, you can spend your fate points retroactively, which allows you to sort of justify retroactively what happened. So you can say, okay, I would have lost, but I will take that free invoke on the injured pilot, and I'm going to spend a fate point to invoke Bright Early Morning. That's a +4 total, which will give that to give the Nazi a 4 versus that 3. So what happens is, as Judith is talking up front, one of the guards is sort of circling around the back, and he sort of looks to see if there's a false bottom. He doesn't sort of see anything initially, and as that's about ready to... No, they have, Krillin, they still have 2 left. The GM gets 1 fate point per NPC in the scene, and I only spent 1 of my own fate points. But because of those success at costs that we got, remember when we got those success at costs that people wanted? That gave us these 2 aspects with a free invoke for the bad guys. So those bad guys got to invoke for free. So rather than spending 3 fate points and having none left, which is what I would have had to have done normally, because our heroes chose to invoke to succeed at a serious cost, I just got 2 free invokes, i.e. I got 4 free points, which allowed me to win that challenge. So he's walking around, and he is about to turn away to go when... hey, I'm just doing what chat tells me to do, and chat tells me don't spend fate points and just have them succeed at cost instead. So, you know what? I'm doing what chat's telling me to do. So he turns, and he's about ready to go back up to the front when he hears moaning in the back. He hears some... Chat is evil. He hears this moaning underneath the false bottom, and in the bright sunlight he can see that something is off. He gets a check. Okay, so now they're tied. At this point in time, there's a little bit of a rising concern, and the guard who hears something says, hey, I think I heard something back here. Everybody's sort of tense at that moment. What are they going to do? We're going to have Marie. The main guard is going to ask to see their papers, to look at their identification, and that's going to be his what he's going to do. While Marie is going to, Judith is going to try to use. We're going to have Liam use his tradecraft on that one. That's okay. I will see you. So Liam's going to try to use tradecraft to sort of see their papers are in order. He rolls a 0. A 0, everyone. He rolls a 0, which means that was a terrible, terrible roll. Yeah, he rolled awfully. But, so this is Forrest, Judith. But Liam has, oh, you know what? We used to, at one point in time, we had, Liam used to have, oh, no, it's Forrest. Forrest has a felonious forger. And by the way, forgery is going to end up being tradecraft. We're going to change that. It is. That's exactly right. So we're going to fix that. So this is going to be, so we're going to change Forrest's forgery to tradecraft, and we're going to say that he has a specialization in forgery. So that that's what, in tradecraft, that's what he's specialized in, which means that Forrest is going to roll. And where's my specialization? That's in 60. I believe it gives you a +2 when you, I think it gives you a +2 on things that you're actually good at. Let me check. I want to be right. Specializations. You can specialize only if you're at fair or higher with a skill. And if you have a specialization, they come into play to overcome actions, etc., etc. For situations where having knowledge of specialty is required, then you can use the spell as normal. If you do not have the specialization, then you're at a penalty. And if sometimes a specialization is not required, but it is beneficial. No, I think it's required. So he's going to roll it. Forrester is going to do the specialization in tradecraft. He rolls a 1, which is also a pretty bad roll for him. And our main guy who's up there, roll 40 Fudge, who's at a 2, is going to roll his notice, and he rolls a 4. He rolls a 4. This is not good for our heroes. This is bad. But Forrest has the aspect felonious forger. So he is going to spend a fate point to re-roll, because that was really bad for him. And let's see how he does. He rolls a 1. It's the same roll. It's not looking good for him. Yeah. He can't do anything about that. Now, there's a thing that I want to do that in this game is that I want them to be able to use notice or roll 20 dice are never fair. I want them to be able to characters to do a certain kind of a setup where they can use notice or empathy before they engage in anything to sort of see if they want to take a turn to assess the situation. But that is a fail by 3. So our villains get 2. If they beat you by 3 or more, they get 2 checks, which means our Nazis are there and they're looking at the papers, and this guy who's in charge, he looks at these papers and he's like, there's something wrong with this. And he notices that the mark is just a little bit off. And he goes, I'm sorry, all of you have to get out of the cart. And they sort of bring up their guns to bear. And at that point in time, the other guard in the back sort of like pounds and realizes there's a false back. And the false back opens up and they see everything. So now let's get into our last option, which is conflict. We're going to have, and now I do want to say that there is one thing we haven't done yet, which is compel. We haven't done a compel yet, and a compel is when I, as a GM, can look at one of the character sheets, which means I'm going to have copies, and sort of force a bad thing to happen. Yes. So, but right now, I don't... Well, we'll see. We will see what happens. We're going to have... What do we have here? None of these look very exciting. I don't need to force... It is true. They're already in a firefight. And who gets to start is the bad guys get to start. They get to start off. That's what makes sense because they began. And so I get to pick, what are they hauling? It's guns and refugees. Guns and a soldier. Guns and a pilot. They're guns, papers, and also an injured pilot. So so the way that initiative works is that you decide who's going to be the first player based on what makes sense in this case. And in this case, it's going to be the Nazis because they won that contest. And we're going to have they see it, resistance. We're going to have one of the guards shoot at our heroes. We're going to have Dumpy Guard 1. He's going to... I need to roll my fudge dice. He's just going to roll 40 fudge. He's at a 2, let's say. And he's going to shoot his rifle at the driver, who is Forrest. He rolls a -4, is what he rolls. I don't think... Resistance fighters weren't sent to concentration camps. They were either executed on the spot or brutally interrogated and then executed, and that is true. So he fails terribly. I've got 2 fate points. He fails really badly. Is there anything I can evoke? I feel like... This is one of the dumpy guards. He would have some of his own aspects, but does he have anything that would be useful for this? I don't think they're particularly exciting, so I don't think they have an aspect that I don't think he has, and I don't think Remote Countryside, Bitter Cold, or Bright Early Morning would be particularly helpful right now. So I'm going to say he cannot justify using a fate point. So he rolls a -4, and our Forrest, who's driving, is going to need some kind of defense, and he is not particularly defensive, so he's going to have to just roll average is what he's got, because that's all he's got. He rolls a 0. However, rolling 0 still is a succeed with style. The bullets come flying towards him, and we're going to just ask, how does that look, right? What does that look? If you defend with style, he gets a boost. So if you defend with style, the bullets do not hit you. He's able to dodge out of the way, out of the bullets. And he's going to get a boost. And that boost is, so a boost is like an aspect, but it's only good for one time. And the boost he's going to have is Weapon Jam. That the, well, that's not really a boost. That's a... Yeah, it's not a big, it's like, that's a minor that can be cleared away pretty quickly. So we'll just say a weapon jam. We'll say the weapon jammed. So that guard has a jammed weapon, which will just mean that guard cannot fire next round. He has to spend 1 round clearing it. Yes. Would be they dodge and ready as a weapon of their own in the same motion. No, a boost is an aspect. So it has to be an aspect that you place on someone, but it only lasts, and it has 1 free evoke, and once it's evoked, it's done, right? So it's not like you don't get a bonus yourself, but you get to put an aspect on someone. So the character can put an aspect on the guard, and the aspect the character wants to put on the guard is a jammed weapon. But it's fleeting. It's not going to last. But that does mean that he can use it. He gets 1 free invoke, but once it's used, then it's done. So it's like you could also like have him be thrown off guard, right? That could be one. Like a off balance could be one, or any kind of little thing like that you can do if you succeed with style. So the way initiative works, once somebody goes, that person chooses who's next, and we'll have, as a GM, I'm going to choose to have I'm going to choose to have the second guard go. I could choose one of the PCs go, but I'm going to have the second guard go. And that guard is also going to do it's going to shoot, because that's how that guard is. Seeing his friend not doing particularly well, he is also going to shoot, well, he's got these 2 people right in front of him. He's got both Liam and Marie. So he's going to shoot at Liam because Liam is there, and he is a 2. So he rolls a 3. Liam is going to defend with athletics or fight. We'll go with athletics. It's fine. And rolls a 3, which is a tie. And a tie on defends means that you're able to succeed, you're able to dodge, but your opponent gets a boost on you. So the question is, does Liam want to Liam will take it. So Liam throws himself out of the way, like throws himself out of the way, and I will say the boost is that when he threw himself out of the way, he hit his ribs against the cart and slips and falls, right? He slips and falls, and now he's prone. So there's a free boost there that I've got. So Liam is prone, and the 1 guard has got his weapon jammed. And our third guard, I'm going to have the third guard go next because I want all my guards to go first to sort of try to take him out. And my big Nazi is going to draw his pistol. He's only got a pistol. And hold on a second. I was wrong on this one. I was wrong. Forgive me. We're using weapon stats. The way I'm describing it is how things normally go, but we're using weapon ratings. And on a tie, weapons do damage on a tie, I think. I'm pretty sure they do. I want to... Is that true? I think they do. Weapons on a tie? We're going to say they do. I will check the rule in a second. Where am I? Let me see. Fate Core will tell me. Because I think actually this might be really, really bad because guns are bad. I think guns might be really, really bad. Weapon ratings 277. If you hit a target's weapons on a successful hit, this counts for ties. So, yeah. So, our friend Liam will get hit with an extra 3 because rifles do 3. And so Liam has to decide, does he want to spend the fate point if he can? Yes, he can. Liam is going to spend his fate point. He is a daredevil acrobat, and he will use that to give himself a +2 on that athletics to bringing up to a 5, so that fails. That fails. So this is a thing to note about weapons ratings. They add if you succeed. So tied 3 to 3, if it stayed at 3 to 3, then the guy with the gun would get to add more on top to give more damage to Liam. But Liam decided to spend that fate point to increase his score so that the guard failed, so that he's not going to take a lot of damage. And he also is not knocked prone. He's fine. He's fine. So that's that. And now I have to choose who goes next. And I'm going to have... I will have... Who's in trouble? None of our heroes have any trouble on them. I will have... I'm going to have Judith go next. I choose Judith. Judith does not have a weapon, but she on her, and she's got this leader right next to her, just until the conflict is resolved. I want to get the conflict resolved and then we'll go. So I don't think we're going to be too late today. So Judith is up next. Because I choose Judith to go next. She has got rapport contacts, will, deceive, performance, empathy, notice, and investigate. She is not a combatant. And rapport will not help her right now. So what she might do... Ooh, this is going to be tricky. So what she's going to do, actually, is she's going to try to set up someone else for success, because she's not great at combat. But what she's going to try to do is create an advantage on the guards. She's going to try to... she screams, right? She's going to look behind the guards, and she's going to scream as if something's coming, something really scary and frightening. So she's going to try to distract the guard. There's the one that has his weapon jammed. There's the one with the big rifle. She's going to try to distract him by looking right behind him, and she's going to sort of scream like, "Oh my God, what is that right behind you?" So she's going to try to deceive this guard to sort of create an advantage. And she rolls a 3. This guard is going to have to sort of see through this with empathy, but I think his empathy is not great. So we're going to just give him a +1 to this and see what he can do. +1, a 4. So he's going to see through this distraction, and she will not be able to create this advantage unless she wants to do something about it. She has 1 fate point left, our Judith, and she thinks, can she invoke something? She thinks you know what? She's going to scream and she's going to say the villagers are attacking, right? No, she won't scream. She'll shout in joy and success. She's going to say, she's going to say, the villagers have come. Like we've got the cavalry's here. That's what she's going to say. Oh, Liam gets in trouble without me. Perfect, Jared. That's perfect. Liam gets in trouble without me because the guard was after Liam. She will spend her last fate point to get that +2, which gives her a 5, which means she's able to place, we'll say here. That is perfect, Jer. Guard 1, jammed weapon. That's a 1. We have a guard 2. Who is distracted with one free invoke, and I will note that that jammed weapon is a boost. Okay. Yeah, that's good. So she distracts. She wants someone else to go next. She thinks Liam should go next because Liam has a weapon. So she passes over to Liam. Liam pulls out his gun, and he's going to shoot the guy with the jammed weapon because his weapon is jammed. So he's going to shoot because he's... during a shoot attack, spend a fate point to declare a specific condition you want to inflict on a target, like shot in the hand. If you succeed, place that as a situation aspect on them, in addition to hitting them for stress. Ooh. Does he want to do a trick shot? Ooh. It has to be an aspect, not a consequence. So you can't shoot their leg because that's a consequence. But he can, yeah, we will shoot him in the hand. I like it. We're going to shoot him in the hand. So he's going to, our Liam, who has only 1 fate point left, is going to spend 1 to declare a hand shot, and he's going to shoot. He rolls a 3, and our guard is going to... The guard probably has like a 2 in athletics, let's say, and he will try to defend with his athletics. And watch this, how this is going to work, though. So he rolls a -2, which comes up to a 2, which is a 0. So it's a 0 versus a 3, and this is what Liam's going to do. Liam is going to use his free invoke on the jammed weapon, which is going to give him a +2 to his roll, giving him a 5 against the guard's 0. And so he's going to say that jammed weapon, because the weapon was jammed, the guard was so distracted by trying to unjam the weapon that he couldn't effectively dodge at all. Just hit. So when you get hit, so this guard is hit. The difference between the defense and the offense is 5, and so the guard must take 5 in either stress or consequences. And here's how it works. You have oh no, actually I can show you because you can see this. So I can show you what this looks like. So Judith has got 2 physical stress and 3 boxes of mental stress, and then a mild, moderate, and severe consequences. So what does this mean? You can only soak... So stress is a way for you to soak damage to not take consequences. It is a way to... it's a way to... it's not like, oh, plot armor. People like to think of it as plot armor in a very cinematic way, but you can think about it as maybe your ability to just dodge out of the way, or to take the damage but it doesn't hurt, right? Like to be injured a little bit but it doesn't hurt, or to like some kind of like grit, but whatever it is going to stress you out, right? So what's going to happen is this person has to soak 5, and if you cannot soak, you're taken out of the conflict. And you have you can only soak with 1 stress box at a time, and we're going to say that our regular guards are at 2-2, and we'll say that our chief guard is at 3-3. So our guard can take a 2 And then your mild, moderate, and severe consequences. Mild is worth 2, moderate's worth 4, and severe is worth 6. And we have to soak 5. Well, the guard 1 will take 1. You know what? You're making me realize what I need to do. By the way, for tokens, I need a stress. I need stress meters on Roll20. Physical, mental, and then also fate points. That's what I need. I just realized that's what I need. Okay, so he's going to take 1 physical stress, and he's going to take a moderate consequence. And a moderate consequence, let me see. Nameless PCs. Krillin, let me check. 222. Let me look, because if you're right, then he's out. 222. All right. Trained thug. Nameless NPCs. Wait. Nameless NPCs. Who are the insignificant, random shopkeeper, blah, blah, blah. You only need 2 or 3 skills on them. It's fine. Yeah. They only have 1 or 2 stress boxes, if any, to absorb physical and mental hits. In other words, they're no match for your typical PC. These people are fair. Let's see. What does this mean for us? Fair. Trained professionals like soldiers, elite guards. Yep. And they have 1 or 2 aspects. They've got their skills. 1 stress box. A 2 shift hit is enough to take them out. So they do have 1 stress box. Okay, so yes. So this is thank you, Krellin. Because this is a fair nameless NPC, he's got 1 stress box, and he takes enough of a hit, which means actually Liam doesn't need to spend his fate point at all, but that's enough to take him out, because that's a 3 is still going to be enough to take him out. So he's able to take out that 1 guard with the jammed weapon. He just pulls out his sten and he shoots him down, and the guy just sort of gets hit by a rain of bullets and falls over. And Liam's going to pass it over to Marie, because Marie is the next person she thinks is pretty beefy. Marie is at the edge of this cart, not too far from the guard who's distracted. So she is going to try to knock him out. She's going to try to punch him out with her fist, or kick him in the face. She'll she's by holding on to she's like a big puncher. So our Marie is going to punch out this other nameless guard, and she has got a fight of 2, which she will use. She rolls a -1, which means she rolled very poorly, but she'll see what this guy rolls first. He's got pretty. I think the gritty in this is going to be Night Witches-esque. They're not going to get eliminated in a single encounter, at least not without a lot of bad luck. But since they're recovering slower than Fate Norm, they can get warned. This is what I'm thinking too, Krellin, but they won't, one battle won't necessarily, if they get hit with rifles, that could take them out, but even then, they're going to have full consequences, so they could just be really, really injured and maybe not die. But because this is what I'm thinking, Krellin, that they're not necessarily going to be taken out. I mean, it's possible, it would be possible to be taken out in a single encounter. Doable, possible, but I think that it'll be the slow accumulation, right? And it'll be sort of like an oncoming storm. So I think, like, I'm thinking they got off to a bad start here, but I think they won't necessarily. I think they'll be okay, is what I'm thinking. But over time, they'll get slowly worn down as the war gets to them, is what I think. I'm agreeing with you, Krellin. So then our guard's going to try to block this with his athletics, but he rolls a -2, which means that our Marie is going to spend her fate point. She's going to spend Marie Smash Puny Germans as a fate point to get her up to a +1, which means she succeeds by enough to take that German out. So she punches the guy right in the kisser, and she knocks him unconscious with this there's his nose breaks and there's blood everywhere, and he goes down like a sack of potatoes with that one blow. Marie passes it over. Oh, and actually, wait, I'm sorry. I take that back. I take back her fate point. I take it back. She doesn't need to spend her fate point. There's a free invoke on that guard, the distracted, right? Because Judith Lemaire used her skills of deception to distract that guard. So she put a free invoke on distracted. And Marie will use that free invoke to pump up her... She uses that free invoke that our dear Judith got for her to knock, so that guard is knocked out, and we have now one person who is left to go, and that is Forrest Williams, who has not yet acted. And Forrest is going to have to decide what Forrest wants to do. Forrest has got Tradecraft, Will, Performance, Investigate, Electronics, Contacts, and Drive. He's not a big fighter. He's going to punch all the Nazis. So here's the thing. Forrest has got one fate point left. He is not particularly great at fighting, but he could drive. But if he drives, there are these guards that might be left out to identify them. So he could drive. He could try. He's a little concerned about witnesses, though. And that makes him a little worried. So what I think he's gonna... You know what he's going to do? He's going to try to create an advantage on this guy. That's what he's going to try to do. He's going to buck the horses on the cart. The pilot hasn't spilled out. He's still in the cart, but he's still in the cart. He just can't do anything because he's completely insensate because he was not healed well enough. So I think what he's going to try to do, Forrest, is have the horses rear up and in order to sort of throw the Nazi, sort of the leader, off guard. And that will be drive, and he's going to try to do his best. He rolls a 2. And our Nazi leader is going to try to defend against this sort of horse attack with his athletics. Forrest's stunt is he can use fast academics to fast talk people when using an academic line of reasoning in place of deceive. So we're gonna get like a +2. So our +2, that's a 1. So our head guard rolls a 1 versus Forrest's 2, which is enough to succeed. And we're going to say that the head guard is now off balance with 1 free invoke. And Forrest is going to turn it over to Liam, and Liam is going to shoot the guard who is distracted a lot. By the way, this is only our second round of combat. He rolls a -1, which he's going to wait to see what happens. Our guard is going to try to dodge with his athletics, even though it's not great for him. He's got a 2. Oh, he rolls a -1 as well, so they're currently tied. And to finish it off, well, they're currently tied. And our guard leader has 2 stress boxes, so Liam needs... Oh, he's got a gun. So he's fine, actually. So they're tied. He just needs to win. He's going to use the off balance, get a +2, giving him a 1 versus that. What is that? Yeah. Versus that minus. So he's got a 1 versus the other guy's -1, so that's by 2. But he's using a rifle, which gives you +3. That's 5. So he just murders this guard. He shoots this guard out. He kills him. So in the middle of this, there's a firefight at this, in the middle of this lone checkpoint. And when they decide not to leave right away, what they decide to do is get out. Liam slits the throat of the guard that takes off his jacket, slits his throat, the guard that was knocked unconscious. They take all the guards' uniforms, and they search the guard point. They're going to take the radio. There's going to be a radio in there. They're going to take it. They're going to search for any kind of papers. That's probably going to be one of them may not have search. Well, they're going to take the obvious things that are there. Yeah, they're going to have to get some new skills, my friends. And they're going to put those... Do we even have search as a skill? Investigate's the skill. Sorry, it's investigate. Force is going to investigate. He rolls a 1, which is fine. So they're going to take the uniforms from the guards. Some of them are going to be washed and repaired because there are bullet holes and blood in them. They're going to take IDs. They're going to basically going to strip all these guards of all their stuff, and they're going to put that in the hidden place, and the false bottom. And they're going to sort of take the radio as well, and then they've got to hide those bodies. They're going to try to hide the bodies. We're gonna use to hide the bodies. Stealth, probably, maybe. Stealth? Does that make sense? Yes, right? Stealth. Yeah, we're gonna use... I might rename stealth my hoarder tendencies. Yeah, I think so. We're gonna go with stealth as our, and I think that's gonna be Liam who has that. My hoarder. Well, but they're gonna need the things. I bet nobody here has stealth. Stealth or burglary. Tradecraft would work too. I will take tradecraft. So let's have Liam use his tradecraft to hide the body. He rolls a 1, which is not great, but he will use his... He does have 1. He's going to use his last fate point to evoke remote countryside, giving him a 3. So anyone to try to... Because they're in the remote countryside... Right? So they're going to go and hide these bodies deep in the remote countryside, going from a 1 to a 3, making it 3 difficulty to find those bodies. And then they're going to make their way back into Paris. Now, none of our heroes took any damage, but now I know I need tokens. They didn't take any stress or any damage. But they also got some extra stuff. They got some Nazi uniforms and some Nazi... ID cards. They have a radio, which maybe they can sort of try to listen in on and see what they can find. So they just found they've got some more resources, including the resources they got from the thing, but they also now have this pilot who is super injured, and they're going to have to figure out what to do with the pilot, and that would be a problem for their next session. So the question is, how fast do they get fate points back? So this is interesting. There are a couple of ways to get fate points back, and I wasn't able to show you one of them, but I could have, but I didn't, because I wanted to get through those three things. And then reinforcements arrive. An empty guard post would be bad. What is they doing with their new uniforms, right? So like all of a sudden we've got this. So in regular fate, right, so you either take stress or consequences, or some combination of both. And like you've got mild. Here, let me show you Forest. And once we finish talking this through, then we'll go and we'll do something. We'll do more on we'll do more next Friday. But I'm glad we did this. I'm feeling good about this. But there are things I didn't get to do that I want to do, and we'll make that better. So you have mild, moderate, and severe. Mild can take up 2, moderate 4, severe 6. And then you have your stress, which is basic 2, 1, and 2. And if you have good will or good physique, you can get more. And if I say you're going to have to take 2 damage, you can say, okay, I'll just use or 2 mental stress, depending on what happens, because you could also use stress for like intimidation. You could do like a mental attack on somebody. You could do all sorts of, you could hurt people with cutting words. So you can do that as well. They all sort of end up with consequences though. So if you did 2, you could just knock off that 1 there and you're done, or you could take a mild consequence for 2. If you had 3, you could take that. Well, Forrest does not have 3 physical, because Forrest is not particularly beefy. So if he got 3 shifts, he could spend 1 on the 1 physical stress and then 2 on the mild consequence. And a mild consequence would be something like a broken nose. Well, that might be a little bit too heavy. Like maybe a broken rib, or like a black eye, something a little bit. You know what? I think I'm going to make my consequences a little bit more lasting, actually. Yeah, a black eye I think would be good. Achtung Cthulhu says 2 hours for a mild consequence, 2 days. A couple hours for mild, 2 days for a moderate, and 2 weeks for a severe. But I think I'm going to up that and say mild is like 2 days, but not the worst ever. Moderate's 2 weeks, and then severe is 2 months. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sort of up. I'm going to up the time frame for how long that will sort of be a bother for you. So like a black eye or a sprained ankle would be, I think, perfect mild consequence. So you could say, okay, I'll take a mild consequence. It's like maybe I've got a sprained ankle, so I have a limp. So I have a limp for like the next 2 days, or a black eye for the next 2 days. Like it's not so bad, but it's there. And you can fill, and your stress boxes, you're going to get 1 back. You'll be able to sort of clear 1 at the end of a scene, but then the other ones have to take a little bit more time to sort of cover. Now that it could be, here's something interesting. That mild consequence doesn't have to be physical. It could be mental, right? It could be a sprained ankle or black eye, or it could be like short-term PTSD. Right, it could be, or like nervous tic, right? It could be something like that, right? Or nightmares. Like so, it could be mental as well as physical. It could be social, depending on what kind of thing it is. It could be like bad reputation, or sort of people are gossiping about you. So those consequences don't have to be physical. That's a great one, Krellin. Spooked by Nazis is a really good one. So like a good mild consequence could be spooked by Nazis. That's a great one. So now you're a little bit more nervous for the next couple of days before. Or exhaustion. Exhaustion's another good one. So those consequences don't have to be physical. They could be spooked by Nazis, exhaustion, sprained ankle. And then moderate's going to be a little bit more serious. So that one might be maybe that one's a broken rib, or like a bad cut, right? Sort of like or a bullet wound might be a good moderate one. And a severe one is going to be like a broken leg, gaping chest wound, right? So like severe ones are really bad, or everyone knows your face could be a very severe consequence. Everyone knows your face, that's a severe consequence. Or regular panic attacks, you know what I mean? Like, so something that is very serious will hit you with that one. And so those are your consequences, and they don't clear that way. They don't clear at all unless somebody does something to clear them. So if you have sort of physical injuries, you need somebody to make some kind of medic roll to start the healing process, but then it won't actually heal until the time passes. If it's something emotional, you're going to need somebody to maybe make an empathy roll. Or maybe if they're an academic and they have psychology, they could do that. And only then can you start working through. Also, things like addiction to morphine could also be a severe consequence. So there are a lot of different things that could be consequences, which are interesting. And then I suppose if it's social, you'd maybe need somebody to make some kind of rapport skills with people to try to repair your reputation. And once somebody's made the roll to overcome your consequence. And by the way, the difficulty to overcome is based on how difficult that, like a mild consequence is a 2, so it's a 2, so it's a 2 to overcome. A moderate's a 4, so it's a 4 to overcome. A severe is a 6, so it's a 6 to overcome. So if you get like a gaping chest wound, you need a medic to be able to hit a 6 on their fate roll, which means they need to be very good at medicine or get a lot of advantages to sort of try to help make that. And if they can't make that roll, you don't start your recovery, you keep it. Like you keep it. You have to wait another time to be able to try it. So that I think will be a thing. And I also, about the grittiness, Krellin, that they're capped at 3, not at 4, I think will help the grittiness, which means it'll be harder to hit those 6s than it would be. So people who get really bad injuries are going to be sort of injured for a while, and that'll be a problem. Like, so I think they'll be, they won't be taken out as easily, but there'll be lingering effects that will be a problem. I'm thinking, yeah, the stitches keep popping, right? So like they get, but oh no, the stitches keep popping, it starts bleeding again, right? So I think that that'll be really interesting. So, and about the fate points. So I think there's a thing that I'm going to do, which is part of the gritty thing, which I think I might do, which is that you can't just clear it. If you have a 1 that's open and you have a 2 stress box marked, you can't just clear it. What you do is you shift it down 1. Right, so that's your, right, so you shift it down 1, and then the next time you can clear it. So how do you get your fate points back? So we didn't get any examples of them getting fate points at this moment, but they have a refresh of 2. So at the beginning of every session, they get 2 fate points. Well, they go back up. If they have fewer than 2 fate points, they get 2 fate points at the beginning of the session. So you might as well use them because you're going to get them back at the beginning of the next session. But there are ways to get more fate points. And one of the ways to get fate points is if you have your aspects. So a hostile, invoke, or a compel are the 2 ways that, or conceding. So there are 3 ways to get fate points, to get more fate points. You can accept a compel, and a compel is when I, as a, yeah, okay, so this is, it is not always clear the difference between a compel and a hostile invoke, because they both seem like the same thing, but they're not. So a compel is when I say, as the GM, hey, you have this aspect. Let me give you, so here's Forrest. What is his aspect? His aspect is, he has the aspect, felonious forger, cunning linguist, black market archivist, know-it-all, American poet, and scholar. So let's say let's say the gang is at a bar, and they're supposed to be laying low and being subtle. GNS is out, R&D is in. R&D, oh wait. I'm gonna copy this link. Copy link location. What is the new R&D? What is this? What is this? Gamist narrative simulation is out. Here are the new reasons people play games. Resurrectionists hunting for a specific memory to recreate. Necrologists who are coping with suicidal ideations. Dionysiasts who are just here for a good time. No one else is allowed. That is amazing. So what happens? Right. So the so let's say they're in a cafe, and there are these Nazis talking about art or something like this, and they're supposed to be like just listening and not calling attention to themselves. I can say, hey, person playing Forrest, you are a know-it-all. I think that because you're a know-it-all, your character could not help himself but to butt in their conversation and correct them. And that will cause trouble because now you're going to be on their radar. Do you take this fate point? So they can take the fate point, and so a compel is to say, because of one of your negative aspects, I think that you would, or like with Marie, where she like gets mad at Germans, I could say, hey, I think you'd punch out this German right now. I think that you'd punch out the German. Do you want this fate point to punch out the German and cause trouble? So like, I can basically compel them to use their aspects to cause trouble, to make their lives more difficult, to make things worse for them. That's like a narrative thing. And if they don't want the compel, they can give me one of their fate points. So they can say, no, I don't want to butt in on this conversation. I'll just give you a fate point so that I don't. Or I could also say, hey, you're a black market archivist. I think it would make sense that the guards know you because of your black market activities, and that they would be out to see you. Right. So I can, with the compel, you can sort of say that they would make a decision, or that the situation would go badly for them. Yeah, they're kind of like willpower. So I can say, hey, I want this bad thing to happen to you in the story narratively. Do you want a fate point to accept it? And if you accept it, you get the fate point. If you don't want to accept it, you have to give me a fate point. So that's a compel. A hostile invoke is when I see, like, if I'm in a conflict with you, and for example, Forrest is a know-it-all, and we're in a debate, right? There's a debate going on between an NPC and Forrest, and I am going to, and I want to, and I'm losing that, and I roll against him, and I'm down by 1 in that thing, but I want to actually invoke his know-it-all hostilely to give me a +2 or allow me to re-roll to say, hello, we're almost done. I want to say that actually, because you're a know-it-all, it basically turns off the crowd or whomever, and so I want to sort of basically use your aspect against you. So I'm going to pay that fate point to you to get a +2 myself or re-roll. So you can use the hostile invoke is mechanical, whereas the compel is sort of more narrative. So both of those are ways to get compels for the player to get more fate points. The other way to get a fate point is that if you're in a conflict and you're thinking, ooh, I am going to be taken out of this conflict. And the way you get taken out of a conflict is if you cannot, also, what is this doing here? If you cannot, if you're trying to talk your way past a German checkpoint, everything's going fine, but Marie recognizes one of them and she's tangled them before, and because Marie smashed between a German, her presence complicates things, and the guard gets a +2 to notice something amiss. Yeah, so, right, and so then I could actually use that both as both a compel and a hostile invoke, right? The compel would be, this guard knows you, and there's going to be trouble. Like, they're going to see you, they're going to call you out, they're going to try to arrest you, it's going to get bad. That would be a compel. If I just wanted the invoke, I would say the guard gets a +2 to notice her. So like, I get to choose if I want it to go really, really badly with the compel, which she can refuse, or if I just want a hostile invoke for a +2, which she cannot refuse, but I give her the fate point for it. And in a conflict, you get taken out if you cannot fill in a stress. If you basically, if you have shifts left over, if I give you 5 shifts, right, 5 damage, 5 shifts, and you cannot soak that with either stress or consequences, then you're taken out of the conflict. And taken out can mean different things. If I'm shooting you with a gun, it might mean that you're just dead. If I'm punching you in the face, it might just mean that you're knocked unconscious. You could be shot and be knocked unconscious. That's possible. If it's a social conflict, maybe you are, or like maybe if I'm emotionally attacking you, maybe you have a breakdown and you are just sort of left to tears, and that's it, right? So like you're taken out, we decide what that might mean. But you're always able to concede, and if you concede a challenge, a conflict, that means what you say is, I'm going to take myself, because, okay, here's the thing. If you're taken out, the opposition decides what happens to you. So if the guards shoot you and you get taken out, I, as the GM, get to decide what happens to you. I can decide, are you killed or are you unconscious? I get to decide, because I'm the opposition. So if you are the PC and you take out the opposition, you get to decide how they get taken out. You get to decide that they're killed, or you get to decide that they're knocked unconscious. That's right. So like Marie's character could have decided that she actually killed that guard by punching him in the head, that she like, he fell, cracked his head against the cart and broke his neck, right? In some like awful thing. Or she could have decided that he didn't die, he was just not unconscious. Or when they were shooting those guards, they could have decided they didn't kill them, that they're just unconscious and bleeding out. Like, you get to decide how your opposition is taken out. But with the concession, when you concede, you decide how you're taken out. So you're still taken out, but you decide how that happens. So if my Nazis are coming in with lethal intent to shoot you with a big machine gun, or let's say they set off a bomb. Let's say that the Nazis set off a bomb in your safe house, and the bomb goes off. And before I roll anything, you're like, ooh, I don't think this is going to work out well for me. You can concede and you can say, no, I'm taken out. But what happens is I don't die. I get the demolition blast throws me behind a table, and when things collapse, I'm protected from the blast, but I'm stuck under this rubble. So if you concede, you choose how you're taken out. But when you concede, you get a fate point for conceding, and you get, there's a cast iron bathtub, something like that. And you get a fate point for every consequence you took in that conflict. So if you took a mild and a moderate consequence and you concede, you get 3 fate points. And any fate points above your minimum, you get to keep over the session. So you might earn a bunch of fate points and then get to keep them for the next session. So that's fate points and how conflicts, challenges, and contests work. That's that. So that's our stream. That's our stream for today. We went a little bit long because I wanted to finish the conflict, but the conflict itself didn't go. Was pretty fast. Ooh. Rissa is enjoying learning about the fate system with me. Thank you. I'm enjoying it too. I'm enjoying sort of working it out. And one thing that I would note, I should say this. I'm going to sing, by the way. One thing I would note is that you can self-compel, right? So you can say, as a player, you can say, hey, I think because Marie ends up having, or actually, this is interesting. Back in that one conflict we were at where they were trying to get out of the sort of sneak by those guards, we know that Liam has an itchy trigger finger, and Liam's player could have said to me while they were doing their contest, could have said, hey, I think that Liam, because he has a itchy trigger finger, would just pull his gun and start shooting guards right now, even if they could have gotten away, but like I think I just would have started shooting people. It's true, but the GM can say, no, I don't think you would, but right? So you can actually cause trouble. You can compel yourself. You can say, I think I would do this really stupid thing. Can I get a fate point for it? And we can be like, yeah, here's a fate point, So you can always self-compel, and as a way to cause more trouble in the game and get yourself a new fate point. You can always do that. So it's a little bit of the responsibility of the players to know their own aspects, to know what they could self-compel, and also the GM to sort of pay attention to people's aspects. So I imagine when I run, I'm going to have a cheat sheet with all the players' aspects so that I can do good compels. And I actually think that if I did this again, I would make sure that those Nazis had like one or two aspects that they could use to invoke, or that people could use to invoke against them. So there's that. But that is our stream. But first, for the thanks for the bits. We're in the Money, as sung by Ginger Rogers from Gold Diggers of 1933. Irway and hey, the anime. Irway and hey, the anime. Ivway, oh. Ivway at ge eleat way of way at xt utit galeang way. Irway and hey, the anime. Ide I skays are ani say. Oh man, the adiation pray, uyare uthray was te unway on rayo. Ewe ever eat ray edleins lay, a of way ed brains lay, ute day. And when we see the end, we'll uklat the eye in the IA. We're in the money, we're in the money. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along. Woo! Thanks, everybody. That was amazing. So this is not the end of our session prep. This was us doing conflicts. Next week first let me tell you, next Saturday, tomorrow, at noon, I will be playing The Outer Worlds, and we're going to see how we go. We finish the main town. We're going to sort of explore the areas around to see what we can do, and I'm excited, so meet me at noon. Next Thursday, we'll be playing The Return of Obra Dinn, which is the game that won the Excellence in Narrative Award for 2019, and everybody likes it, so I'm very excited to play it. So that'll be a new game, so check it out. That's at 6 next Thursday. Next Friday will be our Fate Prep Session 4. What will we do next week? I think next week I'm going to really try to do faction things. I'm going to really try to hammer out the faction system that there's a set of faction rules for Fate Core, but I don't like them. I don't think they're very good, so I'm not going to use them. So I'm going to really work out what this faction might look like and how to put the faction together and how to use them, what kind of actions they can take. And so next Friday, I'm going to really try to do factions and some of the other things about creating games in Fate, because there are things we didn't do so far. We didn't do like the big issues and some of that stuff. So I think next time we're going to do and I also want to maybe do some like social conflicts, maybe a little bit of that. So next time we're going to do factions for real. We're going to try to do faction actions and see how that works and how I like it. And then we'll see what else we do. But that's what we're doing next week. And there will be banjo tomorrow. It may be rusty, but there will be banjo tomorrow. I want to play Willow John, which is in double C tuning. I'll tell you about it tomorrow. It'll be excellent. So that's it. I'm going. Thanks everybody for being. Oh wait. Let's go over here. Before we go, do you know what I want? Oh, hold on. Got to change the microphone so it's not my face. I want to see if the Bubbernaut is live. Is Bub? Who's running right now? Oh, okay. We're gonna go and raid Scraticus. Let's raid the Scraticus channel because Scrat is awesome and has great hair. So we're gonna go into a raid. This is our raid command, and let's go and give him a raid and say hi from the Academic Foxhole and give them some love. And I will catch you on the flip side. I should say, in case you don't know, you can join me on Discord if you like. That is not even how you spell it. I should say it. So we've got a Discord. You can join if you like. You can find me on Academic Foxhole on Twitter, Academic Foxhole on Patreon, where I'm sort of raising funds to help pay for overlays for the French Resistance and music and to pay a cast, and on Trooper SJP at YouTube, where I have the whole, archive of the shows. You can give a follow if you like, subscribe if you want to, do all the stuff, and thank you very much. I will catch you on the flip side, and let's do a raid. Let's do it. Raid time! Okay, everybody, we're gonna raid. Good night, everybody. Rating. We're gonna rate in like 7 seconds is how it's gonna be. Like we've got like a couple seconds, but just go over there, give them a hi, say hi to them for me, and we'll do it. I'll catch you on the flip side, everybody. Bye.